Chapter 343. The Heavenly Body Secret Technique was already considered a very domineering technique for cultivating the divine body. It helped the god body a lot. He was able to take one strike from a 9-star general at initial Yin-Yang realm and wasn't instantly killed. Most of the credit was due to this technique. Improve. He consumed 90,000 rage points. True Heaven Body Secret Technique, Grade 7. A swelling sound. It wasn't the swelling of his body, but something in his body was stimulated and swelled up. This power is really strong. Lin Fan exclaimed. His god body cultivation might have been at Yin-Yang realm, but his true strength was even more terrifying than peak Yin-Yang realm. At that moment, he thought back to Gang Xiong. That fellow's god body cultivation was really high, but he still died in the hands of his father. At the same time, at the start, he was thinking that since Gang Xiong's cultivation was so high, would he have the ability to regrow limbs? Now that he looked at it, he realized that he was thinking too much. Gang Xiong couldn't be more dead. There were no bubbles at all. He knew that he was thinking too much. But it was hard to say. Maybe his father was too terrifying, directly locking down all of Gang Xiong's weaknesses. Even if he had the ability, he wouldn't be able to revive. He accumulated a lot of rage points in this battle. It was hard to say how much he could improve, but he just wanted to become stronger. He didn't have a strong desire to become strong. His goal was to be a rich family young master, to live a luxurious life. But others didn't allow him, and even wanted to destroy his current life. That was something that he couldn't accept. Only by continuously becoming stronger, defending one's rights, and defeating all those who wanted to stop one from enjoying life, then everything would become peaceful. Improve. He consumed 100,000 rage points. Improve. He consumed 110,000 rage points. True Heaven Body Secret Technique, Grade 9 Peak, Hong Long. A terrifying power spread out from Lin Fan's body. He lowered his head and saw that his body was actually crystallizing like many small crystals were forming up his body. It was a magical feeling and a magical scene appeared. Very quickly, the crystals disappeared like they were merging into his skin, filling up every pore and even every cell. This was probably the shocking phenomenon that appeared when one cultivated a technique to the highest realm. What a powerful aura! Lin Wani looked at the book, Spring Colors, and thought about life. His brows furrowed as he looked through the window at the night sky outside. A smile crept onto his lips as he shook his head helplessly. What was this stinking brat doing? Lin Wani didn't disturb him. If he could become stronger, it would be a blessing from his ancestors. Something was not right. The ancestors of the Lin family were all farmers. Before him, there wasn't a single outstanding existence. They were all obedient farmers. Lin Wani was thinking about the same thing. His ancestors were all farmers, so why did they change when it came to him? Moreover, this change was too big. In his own words, he had always been very ordinary, so ordinary that it was a little too ordinary. In the end, a mutation occurred, and he was born. Maigu City. Yu City lost, and 2 generals fell. One of them was the strongest land, General Gang Xiong. Mao Shintai's face was cold, and rage appeared on his face. Gang Xiong had a decent relationship with him. Now he heard the bad news. Naturally, he was sad, but more of it was rage. General Xue Du said, "The situation isn't good. What is the Alliance headquarters planning to do? If we allow Yu City to exist, we won't be able to improve at all. Only by destroying the Yu City defense line and killing Lin Wani can we solve this problem." Mao Shantai clenched his fists. The Alliance doesn't have so many top generals to send out unless those people from the headquarters are willing to take a risk. But the possibility isn't high because Lin Wani is too dangerous and they don't dare to take the risk. They are greedy for power and have become fearful. General Xue Du smiled. They might have been generals, but to be more direct to those in power at the headquarters, they were top fighters. As for letting those people fight with Lin Wani, that was basically impossible. They all knew that in a life and death battle with Lin Wani, there would definitely be casualties. There would definitely be deaths. Who would die? No one was willing to die. If they died, then there would be nothing left. If it is possible, I hope that Monster Emperor can head to Yu City and help solve the situation there. Mao Shindai said. General Shue Du frowned. I think that it isn't possible. Monster Emperor isn't a fool. Even if he is sick in the head, he knows who he can offend and who he can't. If he dares to head to Yu City, Lin Wani will kill him first. He won't give him any chance at all. Moreover, I don't need to say more. Monster Emperor definitely thinks the same way. Mao Shintai frowned. Shuedu's words made sense. He said, since that is the case, then let me head to Yu City. You take charge of Maigu City. If this continues, it won't be a good thing for the Alliance. You're saying that the Alliance headquarters has started to ask for peace? Shuedu asked. Mao Shintai nodded. Yeah, that is indeed the case. Based on the news I received, there are people asking for peace in the various cities. They are saving those natives who are treated like animals and displayed in front of people. Maybe they want to use them to pull strings. General Shuedu raged. They are traitors. We have fought for so long and sacrificed so many people. They actually want to ask for peace. They're just asking to die. No, they aren't traitors. They were the ones who took the initiative to fight, but in the past few decades, they have experienced too much and lost their ambition. They just want to make peace and develop peacefully with the natives. That's why they appeared in this war and even infiltrated the headquarters. That's why many 9-star generals are waiting there, waiting for us to lose. As long as we lose, they will use this as an excuse to tell the citizens to stop fighting. The most terrifying thing is that some of the young people in the Alliance want to stop. Mao Shintai was a little worried. The situation wasn't good for the Alliance, and if they weren't united, it would be tough for them to accomplish anything. Shuedu was shocked. He didn't pay attention to such a situation. All along, he felt that the people wanted the Alliance to wipe out the natives and expand their territory. What is going on? Did the natives infiltrate the Alliance and brainwash them? To him, that was the only possibility. Otherwise, what else could it be? I just found out about this. At first, it was because of the natives we captured. They were kept in cages like animals for the people to admire. But the first time it happened was many years ago. A kid fell into a cage that locked up the natives and beasts. When everyone thought that the kid had died, the natives actually fought with the beasts and saved the kid. From then on, there were many discussions about the natives on the Alliance platform. At first, no one paid much attention to it. But gradually, the situation changed. One after another, there were incidents of the natives saving people. This made many citizens feel that we were invading them. Moreover, the natives weren't as bad as they thought they were. From then on, the people who wanted peace slowly appeared. Mao Shintai didn't dare to believe that things would become like this. This was something that he found out about when he was free on the Alliance platform. There were many similar cases. He felt like he had been F***ed. Such a thing just happened out of nowhere. He wanted to let the people see how vicious the natives were. Who knew that they actually knew how to save people? Actually, one couldn't blame the natives. If it was an adult, they would have killed him. But an innocent kid fell down and they hesitated whether or not to save him. In the end, they still saved him. Maybe it was because they were saints and felt like it had nothing to do with the kid. Who knew that it would have such an effect? What happened at Yu City spread to many border cities. Everyone was so excited that they didn't know what to say. Who knew that the Alliance would suffer such heavy losses? That was just great. This was a huge blow to the Alliance's morale. Laozhan City. Brother Lin will definitely shine and teach the Alliance a lesson. Hu Luo smiled. Long San said, we didn't even see it and you knew who did it. Don't. Lu Siki knocked Long San's head. You are just jealous and envious. Long San didn't want to say more. Forget it, whatever they said. He just didn't believe it. But Lu Siki's attitude towards him became much closer. Although it was hard to say, he could sense that she was really happy. Zhang Rongming smiled and felt that it was really possible. He met many people in Laozhan City. At the same time, there was an expert who saw that he was talented and was willing to teach him. However, he didn't take him as a master. After all, he was a disciple of Giant Sword Sect, so how could he take someone else as a master? Wouldn't that make him a traitor? Phew, not bad. I am starting to step into domain realm. Lin Fan took in a deep breath. He felt that the phenomenons would be a little shocking, but since he had already reached such a stage, there was no point in thinking about it. Improve. The 540 true energy in his body started pulsating, and before he had even reached the primary stage, a resounding boom rang out in his body. It was as if the world had been split apart, and a resplendent light burst forth from his body. The yin-yang ocean that was opened up mixed with the 5 elements and started to change. This change was really mystical, and it was hard to describe with words. However, he could feel how terrifying the power that was condensed was. Lin Fan didn't bother about it. He continued to improve his god body. At such an important moment, he had to raise his god body cultivation to domain realm. An invisible power spread out from his body. It was a light barrier that was a little dark. The area that was covered was in a gray world, and it continued to expand. At that moment, within the occupied main camp of the Alliance, countless experts stood up in shock, their faces filled with disbelief. This was a domain. It was really unfamiliar, but it was really strong. Who was it? Chapter 344. The commotion caused by Lin Fan was a little too big, and the entire base was affected. But he didn't sense that the domain that he spread out had already covered the entire camp. When they were enveloped in this domain, the scenery in everyone's line of sight turned gray. It was as if they had arrived in a different dimension. The people who were enveloped by the domain were all wondering what was going on. What kind of domain was this? How did it become like this? The darkness god domain that had been silent actually underwent a shocking change when he became a domain realm expert. It was like it had merged with his own domain. No, maybe it couldn't be said to be a merger, but the darkness god domain in his body had an actual form. Originally, there was only a gray mist floating about, but now the gray mist became thicker and thicker, like there was a change in quality. Some of the domain realm experts in the camp were enveloped by the domain, and they realized that their bodies were being restricted. Many people came outside. They raised their heads and looked into the distance before looking into the sky. It was like a giant net had covered all of them. What is going on? This domain is too foreign, and it isn't something that people like us have. I don't know, but it shouldn't be an enemy. Also, this should be a domain. They were all domain realm experts and were familiar with domains. But the appearance of such a domain shocked them. It was like it had overturned everything they knew. Domains existed, but they couldn't see it with the naked eye. One could only sense it. Domains were formed by the yin and yang ocean and the 5 elements. It was a small world, but it was fake. But now, this kind of domain gave people a real feeling. This domain actually has its own aura. It seemed a little dark. No, it isn't dark, but sinister and terrifying. The mist around seems to be able to affect our mental state. To experts who were good at using domains, they were really familiar with them. But this domain was really foreign to them. It felt like there was a problem with common sense. There was a huge change, and there was a huge difference. In the distance, Old Wu was awakened right away, and he quickly came to Lin Wani's side. Old Master, this domain spread out from Young Master. Do you think that Young Master broke through to domain realm? Do you think it is possible? Cultivation isn't as easy as drinking water. You were just at yin-yang realm. How could you reach Grand Dominion realm so quickly? Lin Wani refused to believe it. However, he frowned, feeling a bit worried. If that wasn't the case, then what was going on? Without any nonsense, he quickly rushed towards Lin Fan's location. He didn't sense any enemy attack. Naturally, there was no need to worry too much. But what was going on? Where did the domain come from? Moreover, there was something wrong with this domain. Old Wu followed behind, thinking about what Old Master had said. Indeed, how could one's cultivation increase so quickly? It was the same for them. All of them had cultivated painstakingly and obtained some fortuitous encounters at the same time. Only then could they reach their current level. How old was the young master? To be able to cultivate to the yin-yang realm was already heaven-defying. Perhaps it was something impossible. True enough, when Lin Wani and the others landed outside, they confirmed that the domain had spread out from here. Don't worry. He raised his hand and did not disturb her. Although he didn't know what was going on, If that unfilial kid was really breaking through and they charged him like that, it might affect him. That would really be a problem. Very quickly, Zhu Shun, Zhang Sheng, and the others came from afar and looked at Lin Fan's house in shock. Master Lin, this. They were confused and found it hard to understand what was going on. Lin Wani told them to wait and not rush in. Everyone waited outside. This commotion is a little huge. Lin Fan sensed everything within the domain. The area that was covered was all within his senses. He knew how many people were outside. He wanted to continue to study the domain situation. But looking at the current situation, it wasn't possible. There is finally some movement in the Darkness God domain. However, it was a little small, and he had to think about it himself. The rage points consumed this time were just too terrifying. To raise his cultivation to domain realm, he cultivated many cultivation techniques. Heart cultivation Emperor Heaven Scripture also rose to grade 12. He had to cultivate 8 cultivation methods to allow his divine body to withstand the requirements of leveling up. Now, he was left with 4,466 rage points. A pitiful amount. However, the consumption was huge, and he felt like it would become even more terrifying in the future. It would become harder and harder to improve. Who knows whether or not I can fight against the 9-star general now? He was really confused. Maybe he would only know when they fought. It was best if he headed out. The commotion he caused was a little huge and attracted his father over. He wanted to be low profile. But looking at the situation, it was impossible and he couldn't hide it anymore. He withdrew his domain in the blink of an eye. The domain that enveloped the camp shrunk to a point and disappeared without a trace. To the people outside, everything in front of them changed. It wasn't gray, but a night covered by moonlight. Lin Fan pushed open the door and noticed the people waiting outside. He said helplessly, "Father, why are you here?" Lin Wani squinted like he wanted to see through Lin Fan. But regretfully, he couldn't see through this unfilial kid anymore. What was that domain just now? He didn't sense anyone else's aura, which meant that the domain had something to do with Lin Fan. He just wanted him to believe that the unfilial kid had reached domain realm. In the end, he still didn't dare to believe it. Lin Fan didn't hide anything. "Father, didn't you see it? The situation is like that. The domain is mine." "Nonsense. Didn't you tell me that you are dual cultivator, yin-yang realm? How did you reach domain realm in the blink of an eye?" Lin Wani scolded. He felt that the unfilial kid didn't tell him the truth. Lin Fan said, "Father, that was before. Now is now. The difference is huge. What's the saying? A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at differently. I am an outstanding genius, so 3 days is too long. My improvement is just a little faster." Lin Wani wanted to say something, but before he finished, he shut his mouth. Lin Fan didn't give his father a chance to ask. He released the domain and then retracted it. It was just so simple. "Oh my God, young Master Lin is actually at domain realm." That's right, that is too quick. They were all people who lived in U City and obviously knew about young Master Lin's situation. But the situation now was a little shocking. If they hadn't personally witnessed it, they probably wouldn't have believed it. "Father, you should believe me now, right?" Lin Fan said. If they still didn't believe him, then there was nothing they could do. Actually, he didn't want to be so outstanding. But he had no choice. No matter how outstanding people hid themselves, they would shine like stars. Even darkness couldn't block them. Lin Wani was pumped up. He wanted to lift Lin Fan up and shout excitedly that he was a genius. But he was just thinking about it. This unfilial kid was already so old, so it wasn't appropriate to lift him up. Although Lin Wani's expression was solemn, deep down he felt happy. He had finally grown up. The process wasn't important, and the outcome was the most important. To be able to reach such cultivation at such a young age was just too terrifying. Even Lin Wani would have to eat dust behind him. He wouldn't even be able to see his shadow. Zhu Shun's eyes opened wide. Oh my God! Young Master Lin became a domain realm expert. That was just too shocking. As expected, a tiger father wouldn't have a dog son. Master Lin was such a terrifying person, so it was impossible for his son to be so weak. So, he had been thinking too much. If he gave young Master Lin some time, with his talent and ability, how could the Alliance fight them? Drunk Fragrance Pavilion manager Zhang Sheng was shocked. He had nothing to say. Young Master Lin was too amazing. One could even say that even Master Lin wasn't as amazing as young Master Lin. This wasn't flattery, but the truth. What is going on with your domain? Why is there such a situation? Lin Wani asked. When one was covered in the domain, everything around turned gray. That was just too shocking. He had never faced such a domain before. Lin Fan shook his head. Father, I don't know the exact situation. Maybe it is due to my talent. He knew that this had to do with the Darkness God domain, but he didn't understand it himself. If he said too much, it would be too high profile. Lin Wani really wanted to ask how he cultivated. After all, his cultivation speed was just too quick. But he suppressed the curiosity in his heart. He didn't ask. Everyone had their own secrets. Okay, all of you can disperse. Lin Wani waved his hands and told them to leave. He then looked at Lin Fan. Since you have reached Domain Realm, then do well. Don't think that you are invincible just because you have some strength. You are not strong enough in front of the Alliance. Father, don't attack me all the time. Lin Fan objected. Why do I always get hit by my father when I just come back? Sai, it really makes me sad. Lin Wani said, attack? No, I'm speaking the truth. With your current strength, if you aren't here, you might be strong. But here, even Domain Realm won't be able to ensure your own safety. Haze. Lin Fan was helpless and didn't want to say anything. Actually, he wanted to tell his father that although he was at Domain Realm, he could fight those above him. So, if he faced 9-star generals, he might be able to fight them. Not long later, his father and the others left. Lin Fan thought about it. Father didn't want to admit that he was strong. Domain Realm said that he was nothing. It seemed like he had to become a peak expert. When that time came, if his father still said such words, then he would really be impressed. Chapter 345. Old Master, Young Master is really a Domain Realm. That is just too terrifying. Who knows, in just a short while, Young Master might become a Dao Realm expert. Old Wu was filled with excitement and disbelief. It was really unimaginable. After all, this was just too quick. He was also so young to reach such cultivation. That was just shocking. If the young master reached their age in the future, how terrifying would he be? Just thinking about it made him unimaginable. Maybe it was just too surreal. What I'm worried about now is whether or not there is someone behind Fan. Lin Wani's expression was solemn. Old Wu kept silent. Old Master's words made sense. The main reason was that young Master's cultivation speed was just too quick, which raised their suspicions. Old Wu said, Old Master, I don't think so. Otherwise, with your strength, you would definitely be able to tell. Moreover, young Master cultivated the bug controlling technique due to luck. Why don't we call Zhang Tianshan over to ask him? Young Master spent a period of time in Marshall Path Mountain and see whether or not there was a mysterious person. Lin Wani nodded his head. He didn't need to ask. If there was really no one behind Fan, then that would be amazing. Lin Fan comprehended the Darkness God domain and could sense that there was a close connection between him and the Darkness God domain. Moreover, he could control the gray mist in the Darkness God domain. Domains are formless, but mine has a form. Is this Darkness God domain really a god country? Lin Fan's thoughts exploded. He dared to think about things that others couldn't think about. This Darkness God domain was actually a god country. The current situation was most likely due to heavy injuries, which was why it became like this when it came to him. It seemed like he needed to continue thinking about it. This unknown thing was filled with mystery. The next day, Lin Fan wanted to find his father to ask some things, but when he thought about how his father would scold him, he felt really annoyed. Manager, you're not busy now, right? Lin Fan came to find Zhang Sheng. The two of them were really familiar with each other. At least when everyone was hiding their identities, he was an old customer of Drunk Fragrance Pavilion and ate a lot of silver. Zhang Sheng said, Young Master Lin, if the Alliance doesn't come, then I won't be busy. What's the matter? Now that Lin Fan had reached Domain Realm, everyone knew about it. Everyone was shocked and curious. How'd he do it? This situation had already broken the psychological understanding of many people. Truth be told, it's not a big deal. Right now, my cultivation base is already at the grand domain stage. Thus, I was hoping that Shopkeeper could tell me about the later stages so that I can have an idea of what to expect. The cultivation technique he got from his father only allowed him to reach the domain realm. The rest were gone. In the Alliance, domain realm was only an 8-star general. As for what 9-star general was, he didn't even know. It would have been easy to ask. Even so, there was no point in asking. His cultivation was so weak, yet he wanted to know about the next realm. It would only make his heart itch. But now it was different. Now that he had reached the Grand Dominion realm, it was about time for him to know what he should do next. Oh, so that's what it is. No problem, it's just a small matter. After the domain realm is the Tao realm. However, there's a huge difference between the Tao realm and the realms before it. In my opinion, it's more like the difference between a celestial being and a god. The Tao realm is split into 9 stages, and each stage has a shocking ability. The first stage is the Tao pattern. This is a crucial step in the Tao realm, which is to condense all your cultivation techniques into a Tao pattern. Of course, the strength of the Tao pattern is related to one's comprehension of the technique. Zhang Sheng explained the situation of the Tao realm to Lin Fan incessantly. Lin Fan was shocked. He didn't expect it to be so complicated. After a long time, Zhang Sheng coughed a few times, waking Lin Fan from his thoughts. Young Master Lin, this is the Tao realm situation. Zhang Sheng smiled and said. Lin Fan touched his chin. As expected, it was a little mysterious. Shopkeeper, what realm are you at? Lin Fan asked curiously. Zhang Sheng said, I'm only at stage 3, Yin-Yang 5 element. Lin Fan really wanted to know what realm his father was at, but Zhang Sheng didn't know. He could only guess that he was at stage 6 or 7. When he heard that, he felt like his father was only at stage 6 or 7. But for what the shopkeeper said, that was already top cultivation. Tao Realm Stage 9 was a cultivation level passed down from ancient times. After so many years, no one had heard of anyone reaching Stage 9. Some people even felt that the last few realms were just legends and didn't exist at all. The path was only so far. Lin Fan nodded his head. It seemed like he had to open up this path himself. Let him be the first to become a Tao Realm Stage 9 expert. Thank you, shopkeeper. Lin Fan waved his hands and went back to study the canon. Anyway, he had nothing to do, so he had to study it. He just didn't know when the Alliance would attack again. He was filled with anticipation. Zhang Sheng looked at Lin Fan's back view and muttered, how sick in the head. Apart from that, he really didn't know how to describe it. 3 strongholds that the Alliance took down. King Wudong was already there, but he was really awkward now. Within the huge hall, King Wutong sat on the dragon throne. This throne was just made, and he didn't want it, but that dog Lu Xian insisted on getting it. In their words, although he hadn't taken down the imperial dynasty, he still had to have a ceremony. He directly proclaimed himself emperor. Now, that wasn't the main point. More importantly, another group of experts had arrived. He had no idea where these experts had come from. They were not from any sects either. They had appeared out of nowhere, claiming that they were hermit experts who had come out of seclusion to support the true emperor. Everyone present, apart from King Wudong, wanted to rebel. King Wudong felt that he had fallen into a terrifying state. There was no turning back, and they were all serious. As a strategist, Lu Xian felt like his status had risen. He knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, now that the Alliance is pressuring the border and there are many battles, the imperial dynasty has sent many experts to support them. This is a good chance for us. King Wutong sat on the dragon throne with a solemn expression. He had wanted to kill Lu Xian long ago, but he hadn't found a suitable chance. He could only say that Lu Xian followed the rules, and if he found a random reason to kill him, he would attract suspicion. The Alliance found him and wanted to work with him. Lu Xian even took the initiative to get close to the Alliance envoy. He thought that it was a secret, but actually he knew about it long ago. Yeah, it is indeed a good chance, but it isn't big enough. We have to wait for a better time. With old ancestor Su at Zwa City, It will be tough for us to cross with city and trample the imperial dynasty. Gather the troops, and when the best time comes, we will act. King Wudong said. He could only delay it. He definitely couldn't attack the imperial dynasty. The situation at the border was urgent, and the alliance was eyeing them aggressively. If he led troops to attack the imperial dynasty, wouldn't he bring huge problems to the imperial dynasty? Your Majesty, Lu Xian wanted to say something, but when he saw King Wutong's terrifying gaze, he swallowed the words he wanted to say. Your Majesty, actually, you don't have to worry. I don't think that I am much weaker than old Ancestor Su. If he dares to stop us, I can kill him. The old man sitting below said. Kill your head? What was he bragging about? This old man was a reclusive expert of unknown origin. His words were quite pretentious, especially when he mentioned the Su family's patriarch. His expression was clearly saying that this old man didn't take him seriously at all. Of course, I know how strong Old Wei is. But as the country protector, old Ancestor Su is really strong and can't be underestimated. To ensure that nothing goes wrong, we have to wait. King Wudong calmed everyone down. Damn, a bunch of traitors. Things weren't supposed to be like this. He was really familiar with his brother's plans and knew what to do. But who knew that there would be so many changes? He was caught off guard and didn't know what to do next. Brother replied that he would rely on his own senses and judgment, and that there was no need to contact him. King Wudong could only think about alone. At least, he couldn't do anything and definitely couldn't bring trouble to the imperial dynasty. Your Majesty, I think that we shouldn't be too rash. Now that we have occupied the fortress, we should stabilize our strength and not send an army over. Otherwise, all our efforts might go to waste. Another strategist said. It wasn't that this strategist was someone from King Wudong's side. Actually, he was an active rebel, but he had conflicts with Lu Xian. This was why he didn't want Lu Xian to show off in front of King Wudong. His intentions were obvious. He was going to go against him. You suggested His Majesty to attack, and I suggested not to. No matter what, I was going to go against him. Yeah, that's true. King Wudong nodded his head and agreed with those words. His gaze towards him became much more pleasant. Lu Xian squinted and looked at him. Damn, one day I will kill you. You actually went against me at every turn. Haze. King Wudong felt really bitter, and the pressure was huge. Each step he took could push the imperial dynasty into the abyss. Monster Emperor, where are you? King Wudong missed Monster Emperor. In the past, he worked with Monster Emperor and hoped to uproot 9 Bug Gang. But now, he suddenly realized that Monster Emperor was a decent person. Although Monster Emperor was sick in the head and was a little sick in the head, he helped him stop many sects from joining him. In Monster Emperor's words, all of you trash sects wanted a rebel? Scram to the side. But now that Monster Emperor wasn't stopping them, they could open their eyes and see how many sects joined them. Not much. There were at least dozens of sections. All of them gathered together was a power that couldn't be underestimated. If they really headed towards the imperial dynasty, then the outcome would be catastrophic. At that moment, the alliance envoy arrived. Your Majesty King Wudong, it is time for you to act. The alliance envoy walked in from outside and stood in the center. King Wudong frowned. I need your orders when to act. Moreover, Su family is defending Zhou City. Do you want me to send people to their deaths? The envoy smiled. Don't worry, Your Majesty. We have blocked old Ancestor Su, and he won't appear in a short period of time. It is enough for Your Majesty to take down the various cities and push towards the imperial dynasty. King Wudong was expressionless, but deep down, he was shocked. What did that mean? Could it be that the Su family's patriarch was in danger? Chapter 346. Your Majesty, the Alliance headquarters is sincere in working with you. Please let us see your sincerity. The envoy said. Lu Xian was surprised. Your Majesty, if old Ancestor Su isn't in Zhou City, we will be able to attack. When the time comes, we will be in control of the imperial dynasty. To Lu Xian, he was really excited. He didn't expect that the chance to rebel was right in front of his eyes. So quick, it was just too quick. As long as he succeeded, He would be a huge contributor. In his words, it wasn't too much to become a minister, but he needed some merits. If Lucian knew that the first person King Wudong wanted to kill was him, he would be so frightened that he would fall to the ground. Damn, what did that mean? His Majesty wanted to rebel, and he was cooperating so well. So how could he kill him? King Wudong said, "Don't worry, I have my own plans." The envoy smiled. "It is good that you have your own plans. I will take my leave." Imperial Dynasty. The emperor frowned, and he felt really depressed. The situation had become really complicated and was totally different from before. His brother was probably in a tough situation. Based on the news that came, many sects had joined him, and there were even envoys who went to contact them. They had already laid out a huge net. If his brother couldn't grab it tightly, he might end up being trapped. The Imperial Dynasty's calamity has arrived. The emperor thought about it for a long while and said helplessly, there was no way out. There was really no way. The alliance's attacks were getting stronger, and it was hard to say whether or not the defense could hold on. The top sects didn't do anything. It wasn't that they were watching a show, but that they were waiting for a chance. As long as bad news spread from the defense, such as the alliance breaking through, then the top sects would attack and occupy the land mercilessly. From then on, they wouldn't be controlled by anyone. The only hope was that the defense could block the alliance. As long as they could, the top sects wouldn't dare to attack. Do all of you have to see other races invade and kill so many people? Old Ancestor Su was furious. He knew that these people weren't from the alliance and were experts from the top sects here. It was obvious. These top sects had an agreement with the alliance, and now they appeared to restrict him. They had been fighting for several days. He had no intention of stopping at all. If this continued, the situation would be very bad. Su Changsheng, stop struggling. Hurry up and surrender. Seeing as we are old acquaintances, we will spare your life, said one of them who had his face hidden. Old Ancestor Su said, if you have the guts, show me your true face. Don't talk to me about old acquaintances. I don't know who you are. That won't do. We might be familiar with each other, but since you don't know who we are, just pretend that you don't know. In order to deal with you, we have made ample preparations, the man said with a smile. Even the voice seemed to have gone through a special transformation, making it impossible to tell who it was. Old Ancestor Su frowned and felt a headache coming on. If it was just one of them, he wouldn't take them seriously at all. However, now that the three of them had joined hands and were so well prepared, it was truly troublesome. His route had actually been discovered. That meant that someone in the top sects that he had visited had betrayed him. Forget it. Since that was the case, if they wanted to fight, they would fight. What was there to be afraid of? A few days later. F***CK. 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 Lin Fan exclaimed 3 times and was totally stunned. He seemed to have succeeded with the cannon. After a few blindly fiddling with it, he actually found out how to charge it. There were many densely packed buttons on the particle beam cannon. It was a little complicated, and he couldn't understand it at all. He pressed each button, and then a part of the seamless panel retracted, revealing a hole. He tilted his head and took a close look. It was circular inside, and there were many patterns on the surface that gave off a green light. There was also a picture imprinted on it. He recognized the picture, and the meaning was obvious, which was danger. Lin Fan eagerly picked up the cannon and flew up the city wall. He didn't dare to experiment here, as if an accident happened, then he would lose everything. Young master, where are you going? Go Z asked. Lin Fan said, don't come over. Let me study this first, and I will tell you once I am done. He came to the city wall and aimed the cannon at the alliance. He then took in a deep breath. He was a little nervous and hoped that nothing bad would happen. He reached his arm in, and a sizzling sound spread out. The circles of green light became even more eye-catching, and at the same time, it felt like something was sucking on his arm. Suddenly, Lin Fan's body shook, and he had a different feeling. It was like the true essence in his body was being absorbed. It was really intense, and the suction force was really strong. Moreover, it was really quick, and there was no pain at all. It was like it had touched some kind of nerve, and it actually caused the true essence to disappear even faster. Does this row of gray boxes represent energy? He didn't understand. Not long later, one of the small boxes lit up. Yeah, he used all his strength to pull his arm back, and the little man that had lit up suddenly turned gray. Along with the danger picture from before, he understood what it meant. It meant that if he didn't have enough resources, he could use true essence to charge it. But when he retracted his arm, the energy from before would dissipate. It was called a waste charge. This thing seems to be made for me, but the Alliance must be sick in the head. Just filling up a small space sucked up close to a third of my true essence. If I want to fill up a whole row, how much true essence would I need? I would probably be sucked dry. He thought about it for a moment. He felt that it was really normal. If not, he wouldn't have been able to wipe out so many Alliance members in one shot. He continued to reach his hand in. He started to crazily absorb true essence once more. The energy box lit up once more, and 2 boxes absorbed all the true essence in his body. But there were still many boxes left. Maybe only 9-star generals could take it. After a long while, a beeping sound spread out, and the energy boxes were all full. Terrifying, it absorbed at least 20 complete true essences. If it was a normal person, they would have been sucked dry. Lin Fan shook his head. How terrifying. No wonder the Alliance didn't have many such weapons. It was because the resources were hard to find. Now that the energy boxes were full, it was time to test its strength. He retracted his hand and started to study the machine. Which button was the one to fire? He looked around. He noticed a fist-sized red button that was really eye-catching. Logically speaking, it should be this one. Pata! Lin Fan didn't say any nonsense and pressed the red button. A light dot formed at the center of the cannon. It got bigger and bigger, and the surrounding light particles gathered over. How long? There was a shocking explosion. A streak of light shot out from the cannon. It was really quick and shot into the distance. Alliance main camp. There were a few guards smoking at the entrance. General Mao Shantai, who is defending Maigu City, is here. Do you think a war is about to occur? Yeah, that is possible. Our situation is the most unstable, and we haven't made any progress. We even lost a few 9-star generals. We have suffered heavy losses. Why were we sent here? Just thinking about it makes me regret it. I heard that the people in Maigu City are eating and drinking well. Their lives are very comfortable. Nothing happened. Unlike here, before he could finish his words, there was a loud rumble. A streak of light shot past not far away from them, leaving a semicircular mote on the ground. It flew really quickly, and not long later, there was an explosion in the distance. Shortly after, a shock wave swept over. The guards looked on with their mouths agape. The cigarettes in their mouths fell to the ground, and they were all stunned. What is that? I don't know. His voice started to tremble. He then raised the alarm. Zhu Daoshen was talking to Mao Shintai. When he heard the explosion outside, he was so shocked that sweat appeared on his forehead. To Zhu Daoshen, he was in a state of panic. Any movement could terrify the old general. Maybe he was terrified of those people from U City. Yeah, let's go take a look, Mao Shintai said. Very quickly, they were outside and realized that the members in the camp were all terrified. Although they didn't know what had happened, they were all shouting in terror. The natives are attacking. The natives are attacking. Be careful of the sky. To the Alliance members, they were terrified of the **T rain from the sky. Maybe it had already formed a shadow in their hearts. When Zhu Daoshen looked at the circular moat that stretched into the distance, he was stunned. General, I saw a streak of light strike from the natives. It looked like a particle accelerator cannon. The guard said. He was so terrified that he peed his pants. He was even thinking that if the position of the light shifted slightly, wouldn't that mean damn? So terrifying. Who could save them? Zhu Daoshen looked into the distance, and his face was filled with shock. Impossible. How did the natives know how to use the particle accelerator cannon? That was impossible. Moreover, without energy stones, it wouldn't have enough energy. Oh my God, this is just too overbearing, Lin Fan exclaimed. He didn't know whether or not he hit it, but the particle accelerator cannon was really strong. One shot was enough to scare one to death. Anyway, he had nothing to do, so why not fire it every day? It was a good choice to spend his days like that. He didn't know whether or not the cannon destroyed the Alliance, but that wasn't important anymore. Who cared whether or not it hit? As long as he fired, he would definitely hit it. He shifted the particle accelerator cannon and shifted its direction. He continued to charge it. "Brother Zhu, what is going on?" Mao Shanai asked. He felt like the situation here was different from what he had expected. It was even more complicated. Zhu Daoshan said, "Those natives snatched the particle accelerator cannon, but I didn't expect them to actually use it. They don't have energy stones, so they can't charge it. Also, how would they know how to switch it?" The moment he said this, a terrifying streak of light struck from afar. This time, the target was the main camp. Zhu Daoshan was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat and exclaimed. If the main camp was hit, the outcome would be catastrophic. His hands tore open the space. The space was like a piece of paper that wasn't ripped in half. A long crack appeared in the dimension. The light entered the dimension. A terrifying power clashed with the dimension. Zhu Daoshan was expressionless, but he was under a bit of pressure. Not long later, the light disappeared. The dimension closed. This was the ability of Dao Realm Stage 2-dimension control to be able to shift the attack. But there was still some pressure, but to experts like Zhu Daoshan, it wasn't much. How is that possible? Are the natives crazy? Zhu Daoshan was shocked and filled with disbelief. If this continued, something would happen. In the distance. Damn, there is no reaction at all. Lin Fan was shocked. He could see an explosion just now, but now he couldn't even see a fart. Chapter 347. Girls love dolls, and naturally, boys love to play with cannons. When they were free, they would fire a few cannons. Once they grew up, their energy wouldn't be able to keep up, so they fired fewer cannons. But in their hearts, everyone had a goal to fire cannons. This thing is quite interesting. Lin Fan touched the cannon that he snatched from the Alliance. It was really strong, and one shot was enough to fill it up. That feeling just now should have been the so-called satisfaction. He saw Go Z and Nine Demon standing in the distance and waved for them to come over. The cannon was safe, and there wouldn't be any accidents. Nine Demon's body became bigger, and he didn't know how big it could grow. If this continued, it would probably grow into a small mountain. Looking at Nine Demon's body, Lin Fan had a magical thought. If he fixed the cannon on Nine Demon's head, wouldn't he be able to shoot wherever he pointed? He had an idea. That was really interesting. "Young master, do you understand this thing?" Go Z asked. Let me show you just how strong this thing is." Lin Fan smiled and placed his arm inside. Instantly, a strong suction force came over. Go Z and Nine Demons stood at the side and were really curious. What kind of shocking scene would happen later? He was really curious. In the distance, Alliance. Mao Shantai looked at Zhu Daoshan. "Brother Zhu, why did you look on as the natives stole the particle accelerator cannon?" Zhu Daoshan wanted to say something, but he didn't know how to reply. He witnessed the natives snatch the particle accelerator cannon. The main reason was because he was annoyed with the Alliance's researchers. What kind of crap did they come up with? It was really strong, but it consumed too many energy stones. With the Alliance's current situation, they weren't able to provide too many energy stones. At the same time, that cannon had wiped out his own people, and that infuriated Zhu Daoshan. He really wanted to kill all those researchers. Now that the U City natives used the particle accelerator cannon to retaliate, Zhu Daoshan was stunned. What was going on? How did the natives do it? Not to mention the complicated operating system, but how did they solve the problem of energy stones? He didn't think that the natives would know what energy stones were. After fighting with the people of the rich land for so long, the Alliance knew that while the rich land was strong in martial arts, their technology was basically useless. Therefore, it was basically impossible to understand what an energy stone was. Of course, the particle accelerator cannon had a way to pour in true essence and recharge energy, but this method was the most terrifying. Anyone below the level of a marshal would be sucked dry. When he had first heard of this design, he had considered the possibility that the particle accelerator cannon would be seized by the enemy. In a situation where there were no energy stones, if the enemy used spiritual essence to charge the cannon, then they wouldn't even need to lift a finger. They would be sucked dry by the particle accelerator cannon. Mao Shintai said, "Brother Zhu, it is best not to let your emotions affect your decisions. I know about the research team, but no matter what, we are an alliance and belong to one body. We have to be united against the natives." Sigh. Zhu Daoshan sighed and regretted his actions. Just as he was about to say something, his expression changed. Damn. An Alliance 9-star general actually cursed. That was just so embarrassing. But now, he had no choice but to curse. In the distance, a streak of light shot over. It was the particle accelerator cannon again. Zhu Daoshan didn't dare to hesitate and ripped open the dimension. The dimension was a deeper layer of space, and one could only control it when one reached Stage 2 of Dao Realm Stage 2. But to tear the dimension, one had to bear with the pressure from it. If Zhu Daoshan wasn't strong enough, he wouldn't have been able to tear so many times. "Brother Zhu, the situation is not good." Mao Shintai's expression was solemn. The natives were lucky to fire the first cannon. Then, they had to be wary of the second one. Did the natives know how to use the particle accelerator cannon? Now that the third one was here, it was a little terrifying. At that moment, Zhu Daoshan was so nervous that his face turned white. Based on the situation, the outcome would be catastrophic. The Alliance members in the main camp were terrified by the commotion. They didn't know what was going on, but when the particle accelerator cannon shot over, they all saw it. Some of them were so shocked that their mouths opened wide. Some of the researchers in the main camp had dark and sunken expressions on their faces. An old researcher raged, "Zhu Daoshan is too arrogant. When the natives snatched our particle accelerator cannon, he didn't stop them at all and just watched them snatch it away. Now that they're using our weapon to retaliate, let's see what he can do. We have to report this to the Alliance headquarters." So what if he is a 9-star general? Can he act alone? The old man was obviously someone with status. His words caused a lot of people to agree with him. They were all researchers, and Zhu Daoshan's actions had made them unhappy. But considering that the particle accelerator cannon had accidentally wiped out many of their members, they didn't say much. But now, the situation changed. The natives got the particle accelerator cannon to attack them. If they were hit, the outcome would be catastrophic. There is no reaction again. Lin Fan looked into the distance. Nothing happened to the cannon at all. Thinking about it, it was obvious that they had noticed and thought of a way to block the beam. Old Wu told him about the strength of the beam. It wasn't a joke. That was something that could blast experts to death. "Young master, the cannon's aura is really huge," Gozi exclaimed. He was from the countryside and had never seen the world. He followed young master to see the world. "Hey," Lin Fan smiled. "Young master, this is the Alliance's weapon. Now that I am using their weapon to attack them, let's see what they can do." Gozi didn't care so much. Anyway, he just needed to brag. "Young master is amazing. You are just too amazing." Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. Look, Gozi was so good. Not only did he know how to take care of people, but he was also so good with words. "Young master, do we have to do it again later?" Lin Fan waved his hand and said, "There's no rush for now. In my opinion, the other party is already on guard. There's no point in continuing to attack. Later, when they think that I won't continue, I'll catch them off guard." In the distance, Zhu Daoshan looked solemnly into the distance. He was waiting for the next beam, but after waiting for a long time, he didn't see any more. The natives don't have enough energy, he suspected, but he didn't dare to confirm the exact situation. Mao Shuntai said, "Don't be careless. If this cannon really hits, you know the outcome." The particle accelerator cannon was indeed really terrifying. Even 8-star generals would die if they were hit. Of course, if one could warn them, they would be able to run. Unfortunately, not everyone in the main camp was a general. Zhu Daoshan frowned. Unknowingly, he realized that the situation here had become a little complicated. If possible, it is safest to snatch the cannon back or destroy it. Zhu Daoshan said. Mao Shuntai said, "That is impossible. The particle accelerator cannon is in the hands of the natives. Unless we wipe out Lin Wani and the others, the headquarters have to send more experts over to trade lives for lives and destroy Yi City." Mao Shuntai was just casually saying that. If he really wanted to do it, it would be really difficult. No one would be willing to trade lives for lives. If someone asked him if he was willing to trade lives with Lin Wani, he didn't even need to think about it. Wasn't it good to be alive? After a long while. Still, nothing happened. Is it going to end just like that? Zhu Daoshan frowned and was really confused. He thought that the light would strike, but it seemed like it had stopped. He looked at the time, and a long time had passed. That night, the Alliance main camp was really silent. Suddenly, a beam of light in the distance was really bright, and it lit up half the sky. Zhu Daoshan's expression changed as he was talking to his granddaughter. With a schwa sound, he disappeared from the spot. In the blink of an eye, he appeared outside. The beam of light in the distance was about to reach here. Sila, the dimension ripped open. Han Long, the light struck into the dimension. Damn, they actually attacked at such a time. Zhu Daoshan was so furious that his guts were about to explode. He thought that it was about to end. Who knew that they were just trying to numb them? The explosion was really ear-piercing. In the main camp, those Alliance members who were asleep were all woken up. The first expression on their faces was one of shock. What was going on? What happened? Where did the noise come from? Then, as if they had thought of something, all of them got up in shock. They quickly packed up and ran outside. Not long after Zhu Daoshan appeared, Mao Shintai appeared beside him. He was only wearing a pair of pants, and his upper body was naked. There were some red lips marks on his body. Mao Shintai wasn't young, but he was really warm. He had a habit of tutoring young girls at night, and hoped that they would be able to adapt to the fast-paced lifestyle. It seems like we're thinking too much. The natives probably have energy stones that we can't imagine. Based on the current situation, we have to move the main camp, otherwise, we will definitely be destroyed. Mao Shinai said, "Move." Zhu Daoshan's face was dark and sunken. Where would they move to? The particle accelerator cannon's range was really far, and if they moved it, they would have to retreat. If the Alliance headquarters found out about the situation here, they definitely wouldn't allow it. Right, we have to move. We don't know how many energy stones the natives have. Do you really want to defend here and rip open the dimension? Mao Shinai said, "Damn." He suddenly realized that City's defense line was a little vicious. He knew that Lin Wani was tough to deal with, but he didn't expect that it would be to such an extent. If they didn't deal with the particle accelerator cannon, they would all be restricted. Zhu Daoshan kept silent. Damn, that was just so vicious. The price to pay to move the main camp was a little huge. He was a little unwilling. Go Z, I will sleep first. Look at this grid. As long as it lights up, press this button. Lin Fan laid on the chair and covered himself with a blanket. He stretched his arm into the machine and told Go Z how to operate it. He didn't say anything more. He just needed to automatically replenish energy. He would bombard it for a night and come back tomorrow morning to see the situation. Chapter 348. Go Z was a responsible person. Although he always felt that he was a servant to Lin Fan, he treated Go Z as his family. Moreover, Lin Fan wanted Go Z to experience how it felt to be able to wipe out an expert with just a press of a button. Young Master passed such an important matter to me, so I definitely can't disappoint you. Go Z was filled with motivation. Seeing that Young Master was already asleep, he didn't want to disturb him. To him, Young Master was just too tired. DD. The particle cannon gave out a sound. The energy bar was full. Go. Z raised his hand and pressed down. The light that gathered at the mouth of the cannon stunned him. What a shocking scene. Not long later, with a show, a streak of light shot out, lighting up the dark night sky. It was really eye-catching. What a beautiful light. Go Z's pupils shone brightly. 9 demons' 9 heads were raised, and it looked at the light that exploded out. Its 18 eyes shone brightly. The energy beam that was filled with destructive power was actually considered beautiful by them. Maybe this was the simplest form of happiness for normal people. In the distance, Old Master, why does Young Master know how to use the Alliance's weapon? Old Wu asked. He was stunned by Young Master. If he hadn't personally witnessed it, he wouldn't have dared to believe it. You asked me, but who am I supposed to ask? I can't see through this kid anymore. Lin Wani said. Don't say too much. It was like seeing a ghost. Look at what the kid was doing. He laid on the chair like he had fallen asleep. Goes, he was a good servant and was really loyal. Not bad. Really not bad. He was worthy of praise. Old master, why don't we go ask? Old Wu asked. Lin Wani said, there is nothing to ask. Just let him do what he wants to do. As for other things, we don't need to interfere. He suddenly had a thought in his mind. This unfilial kid was a little strong. To be more direct, he was a little outstanding. But he definitely wouldn't admit that. Okay, go back and rest. I sense a familiar aura over at the Alliance. Lin Wani looked into the distance. Old Wu looked at Old Master. A familiar aura. Did another strong general come? 20 years ago, Old Master was the main force against the Alliance, and the Alliance members he fought were all experts. 20 years later, those experts became stronger, and so did Old Master. The current situation was no longer the same as before. The Alliance's attacks became more frequent and intense. Was it more like he was staking everything on a single throw? Not long after, Lin Wani left. Why wasn't he sleeping at night? As for the cannon sounds, they were quite pleasant to the ear. Who knew how the Alliance was doing? Because it didn't slack off and paid close attention. As long as the energy bar was full, he would fire. The dazzling radiance was too dazzling. Looking at it for too long would cause one's eyes to go blurry. But even then, Gozi didn't relax at all. Artillery fire rose and fell, intense and shocking. Every time it fired, it was as if there was a waterfall of light flowing between heaven and earth. Although it was filled with destructive power, it was also filled with vitality. A collection of contradictions. Lin Fan had an endless amount of true energy in his body. Every time the particle accelerator cannon fired a shot, it would immediately recharge. It just needed some time to recharge. Patter. Fire. Crazily fire. The dark sky was always bright. The U-City experts stood there and raised their heads to look at the sky. The dark night sky would occasionally light up. A long while later. Late at night. Who? Lin Fan had long entered dreamland, and he couldn't sense anything around him. Gozi was a little sleepy, and his hand that was pressing the button felt numb. No, I can't sleep. I can't disappoint young master. Gozi shook his head and then looked at Nine Demon. Use your tongue to lick my face to wake me up. Towards such a sick request, Nine Demon thought about it and felt like there was no need to reject it. Its red tongue gave off heat, and it did a complete service for Gozi. Gozi's face gave off heat. After Nine Demon licked him, he was much more awake. Lin Fan didn't expect Gozi to last for a night. If he was tired, then he would rest. Moreover, it was really boring to do the same action. But if he knew that Gozi persisted, his jaw would have dropped. The sky was bright. Lin Fan opened his eyes and smacked his lips. He stretched and slept comfortably. Gozi. He habitually called Gozi that he needed to be served. How long? Instantly. A bright light exploded for the particle accelerator cannon, shocking Lin Fan awake. What was going on? Why were they still fighting in broad daylight? When he opened his eyes wide, he noticed that Gozi was still pressing the button. As for Nine Demon, it was already asleep. Its 9 heads gave out a snoring sound. Gozi, wait. Just as Gozi was about to continue, Lin Fan stopped him. Oh my God, he thought about a terrifying possibility. Would Gozi continue to press it until morning? If that was the case, then that was just too terrifying. Young master, I will prepare things for you to wash up. Gozi's eyes were bloodshot, and he looked a little tired. Lin Fan said, Gozi, don't tell me that you pressed it for the entire night. Gozi said, young master, I listened to you and pressed it until now. Oh my God. Lin Fan knew the strength of the cannon, and it wasn't a joke. What was going on with the Alliance? He got up and looked into the distance. He couldn't see anything at all and was unable to see what was going on there. What a tiger. It was a little fierce. He estimated it. He estimated that it could fire 12 cannons in an hour. From last night to this morning, didn't that mean that they fired at least 100 cannons? Did they want the Alliance to be blown to death? In the distance, Zhu Daoxin's face was slightly white. He floated in the air, and his arms were trembling. Lunatic. Those people from U City were definitely lunatics. How is that possible? Deep in his heart, he roared. He didn't even dare to believe everything that he had experienced. Damn, the feeling didn't stop at all. He didn't use much strength to rip open the dimension, but to do it so many times was just too tiring. The 9-star generals around didn't sleep. One could say that the people in the main camp didn't sleep at all. The continuous explosions made them break out in a cold sweat. If they weren't able to block it once, then it was basically over. Mao Shintai's expression wasn't calm either. Brother Zhu, we have to retreat. Even if we give up the main camp, we have to retreat, otherwise many people will die. Mao Shinai said. It was an unbelievable scene. The particle accelerator cannons didn't stop at all. Wave after wave was fired. Even when the Alliance was rich in resources, they couldn't consume so many energy stones. Zhu Daoshan panted and beads of sweat fell from his forehead. He didn't reply and was in deep thought about something. Brother Zhu, Mao Shuntai rushed him. Zhu Daoshan was the person in charge here, and if he didn't want to retreat, then even he didn't have the right to do so. How do we retreat? Zhu Daoshan's voice was hoarse. That was true. How should they retreat? Mao Shintai frowned and was troubled by that question. His idea was simple, which was to retreat and get out of the range of the particle accelerator cannons. But Zhu Daoshan's words reminded him. If they retreated, maybe they would just retreat a little, but the Alliance members would lose their morale. But if they didn't retreat, based on the situation, the U City people would definitely exhaust them to death. Brother Zhu, I know what you're worried about, but you have to think about it. If we stay here, we might not be able to hold on. You know the strength of the particle accelerator cannons. As long as one of them hits the main camp, it is hard to estimate how many people will die. Mao Shintai said the worst outcome. He felt like there was no need to worry about what Zhu Daoshan was worried about. If the main camp was wiped out by the U City natives, even if Zhu Daoshan was the strongest 9-star general, he wouldn't be able to answer to the Alliance headquarters. Right? General Mao's words make sense. General Zhu, let's retreat. The other 9-star generals agreed with Mao Shintai's words. It made so much sense. There was no need to fight head-on. General Zhu, look at our people. They are all frightened by the particle accelerator cannons. If this continues, then even without the U City people attacking, their morale will be wiped out. The other 9-star generals didn't have any thoughts about fighting to the death with the U City experts. They just wanted to live. At the same time, they wanted to take down U City while paying a small price. They weren't like Gang Xiong, who was willing to give up everything for the Alliance. When he was furious for his pride, he was willing to give up his life. Such an outcome wasn't something they could accept. Zhu Daoshan suppressed his anger, and after thinking about it for a long while, he sighed. He spat out the unwillingness in his heart. Were they convinced? We have to report this to the Alliance headquarters. Mao Shuntai said, Brother Zhu, I don't think you need to. Someone should have helped you. Zhu Daoshan was stunned. He looked into the distance and saw a person walking over. It was the old fellow from the research team. As expected, the people from the research team definitely wouldn't allow such a thing to happen. They would definitely report the exact situation right away. General Zhu, the Alliance headquarters is looking for you. The old researcher gloated. He was really furious about Zhu Daoshan's actions. Now that such a thing had happened, it was time for him to take revenge. To them, this was all Zhu Daoshan's fault. If he didn't stop the natives from snatching the particle accelerator cannon, such a thing wouldn't have happened. So, the main culprit was Zhu Daoshan. I understand. Zhu Daoshan's face was dark and sunken. Everything had a cause and effect. What happened now was due to his carelessness and underestimation. Mao Shintai looked at Zhu Daoshan's back view and then at the 9-star generals who were watching like they were watching a show. He sighed helplessly. He actually didn't know what to say. P.S. Something happened. Chapter 349. Mao Shintai looked at the smiling old man and said, We are all fighting for the Alliance, and our goal is the same, which is to break the defense line of the natives. For such a huge goal, we shouldn't fight amongst ourselves. The old man said, Fight? When did we want to fight amongst ourselves? If he hadn't found trouble with us so many times, do you think we would want to fight him? Moreover, this can't be considered fighting. He made a mistake and brought trouble to the Alliance, so he has to take responsibility for it. But he pushed the blame to us. Hayes, how are they going to fight Lin Wani like that? They weren't on the same level, and they were actually fighting amongst themselves. It is normal to make a mistake. No one can be perfect. Moreover, we are all fighting for the Alliance. Mao Shintai hoped that his persuasion would be useful. He wanted the researchers to stop fighting with Zhu Daoxin and to calm down. What was there to fight about? There was no point. Now wasn't the time to fight amongst themselves, and they had to focus on the enemy. The old researcher sneered. Marshal Mao, that sounds nice. You can ask him how he did it. When the particle accelerator cannon was fired, it was set up by the natives. The cannon was tilted and accidentally killed some people. Not only did he not understand, he even thought that there was a problem with the thing we were researching. The particle accelerator cannon has been researched since my teacher's generation, and it was only perfected by us. Just a few words from him have erased the blood, sweat, and tears of so many people. He even killed a member of our research consortium in public. Mao Shuntai actually didn't know what to say about such a situation. He thought about it. Zhu Daoxin did go a little overboard. One couldn't blame him for being angry and snitching on him. He asked for it. Now that he had a chance, he would definitely kill him. So what if he was an Alliance 9-star general? Did he really think that he could do whatever he wanted? To these old fellows, even if they weren't as strong as him, their research attainments were something that even 9-star generals couldn't catch up to. Simply put, one was a scholar and the other was a warrior. Mao Shinai thought about it. You are right. But internal strife is a disaster for the Alliance. If the natives find out, they will laugh at us. What else could they do? He just wanted to ask what else could be done since things had already come to this. If he and Zhu Daoxin scolded the research team, then needless to say, there would be a huge conflict. Maybe before the U-City people even attacked, they would collapse from the inside. This was why he felt that his goal here wasn't to fight U-City, but to resolve the conflict between both sides. The old researcher was really calm and didn't say much. Naturally, he knew about the situation. Zhu Daoxin was just too much and made them really unhappy. At the same time, Mao Shintai's words made sense. The Alliance headquarters and Zhu Daoxin's conversation revolved around the battle before. What they asked the most was why they didn't stop the natives from stealing the cannon. Also, how could the natives know how to use particle accelerator cannons? Had any traders told the natives about the use of the energy stones? Of course, they knew that the natives definitely did not know what energy stones were, so there was only one possibility. Someone in the Alliance was colluding with the natives. Apart from this reason, there was no other reason. If the natives had fired 1 or 2 light cannons, perhaps the experts on the native side had injected their own Zhen Yuan into the cannons. But now this is a matter of once or twice. From night to morning, why don't you just fire at me? The Alliance headquarters' intentions were clear. They wanted the main camp to move away from its current location and back off. Zhu Daoxin objected to such actions. He felt that moving away would affect their morale and that they were no match for the natives. General Zhu, I hope that you can understand the current situation. The Alliance headquarters was helpless about this matter. How vicious. When they heard the news, they didn't believe it. The natives could continuously fire particle accelerator cannons. Were they joking? But looking at the situation, it was obvious that it wasn't a joke and it was real. What the F***CK was going on? Zhu Daoxin kept silent for a long while. I understand. Although he agreed to retreat to Zhu Daoxin, he was still really unwilling to do so. The Alliance members in the main camp were terrified. Oh my God, I couldn't sleep last night. From night till day, I've been listening to this continuous rumbling sound. To them, this is a kind of torture. It was just too unbearable. Kid, you haven't stopped firing since last night. Don't you feel that is really ear-piercing? Zhang Tianshan looked down on the Alliance's weapon. Wasn't it just bigger, stronger, and covering a wider area? Apart from that, what else was it good for? It was just useless. Zhang Tianshan, since you came to U-City, you have become so arrogant. Don't forget that you are just the deputy sect leader, and I am the sect leader. Lin Fan said. Zhang Tianshan smiled. Kid, you are in the wrong. Your father and I are good brothers, so it is okay for me to call you kid. So, it is not good to call you sect leader. If your father hears about it, he will definitely say that you don't care about seniority. Aya, oh my god. He really didn't expect Zhang Tianshan to be so slippery. Although he knew that he was slippery in the past, he didn't expect him to be so slippery. He even dared to disregard the sect leader. Wasn't he just asking to die? Lin Fan didn't stoop to his level. Didn't you say that your formation was amazing? Why didn't I see it being used in so many battles? That was indeed the case. Where was the formation? He didn't even see a single one. Zhang Tianshan said helplessly, "You can't blame me. I was laying formations outside the border, but who knew that they would fight their way in? The formations outside are useless, so the ones here are still stabilizing. But don't worry, I will definitely let you see how amazing they are." Lin Fan squinted. Zhang Tianshan's words were really unbelievable, and he felt like he was just spouting nonsense. He didn't bother about Zhang Tianshan and was thinking about something else. The alliance was definitely threatened by the cannons, but so far, nothing had happened. He didn't think that the alliance would give up on U City so easily. So, there would definitely be more intense attacks in the future. If I can attack them in front of the alliance, that would be great. Such a thought appeared in Lin Fan's mind, but he quickly dispelled it. It was best if he stopped dreaming. Even if father and the others protected him, it was useless. The aura from a battle between experts was the most terrifying. If he got close, he would be affected. If he stayed far away from father and the others, he would definitely be targeted, and it would be quite problematic. Forget it. Anyway, he had nothing to do, so he would just continue firing. The Alliance's weapons were really useful. Go Z, go and rest. Leave this to me. Go Z, who had fired for an entire night, was dispirited, and it was obvious that he was too tired. As a righteous young master, he definitely wouldn't let Go Z continue, as he would die. Go Z didn't insist. He really couldn't take it anymore and wanted to sleep. Young master, I will head over once I am done resting. Nine Demon laid there and had nothing to do. Lin Fan fed it the bug-controlling technique's special true essence, and it was pumped full of energy. Lin Fan placed his arm inside and continued to charge it. This matter was really boring. But if he didn't do this, then he had nothing else to do. The particle accelerator cannon exploded once more. The U-City experts blinked and were a little lost. One night wasn't enough, and now they had to continue. That was a little vicious. Bastard, are you done yet? Zhu Daoshan ripped open the dimension. He was really furious and thought that this was the end. Who knew that it was just him thinking too much? Lin Fan had no intention of stopping. Retreat, all of you retreat. Zhu Daoshan suppressed the rage in his heart and hollered. There was nothing he could do. Lin Fan's shameless attacks made Zhu Daoshan feel really helpless and helpless. Brother Zhu, rest for a while. Leave this to me. Arrange for them to leave. Mao Shintai said. He had just come here for a short while and was facing such a problematic problem. How friendly. Zhu Daoshan was really strong, but if this continued, he would run out of energy. The research team, Old Man frowned and was thinking about how to destroy the particle accelerator cannon. Unfortunately, he was helpless. There was actually nothing he could do. When they were researching the particle accelerator cannon, they didn't think about installing a destruction program. After all, the particle accelerator cannon was under tight protection, and no one would be able to snatch it away from under their noses. The Alliance members in the main camp were in a mess. Run! The natives are firing again. If we are hit, we will all die here. Damn. Who said that the natives don't know how to use the particle accelerator cannon? Are we going to die to the weapon we developed? They actually knew how the particle accelerator cannon ended up in the hands of the natives. They didn't dare to scold him. Whoever had the ability to scold Zhu Daoshan would die without even knowing how they died. The 8-star generals wanted to suppress the situation, but they themselves panicked. The particle accelerator cannon fired too frequently, and if they were hit, they wouldn't end up well either. Zhu Daoshan looked at the situation below and didn't know what to say. General, what should we do now? The members of the research consortium are all frightened, and want to leave this place. A general came to report, and they couldn't suppress it. They couldn't just suppress it with force. With their status, they really didn't have a right to do so. Zhu Daoshan said, "Gather people and retreat." "Yes," the 8-star general replied, and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. They were finally going to retreat. That was great. That was also what he was thinking. If the marshal wanted them to stay here, then there was nothing they could do. Perhaps they could only wait for death here. Chapter 350. After all, a life with cheats was somewhat abnormal. The particle accelerator cannon was indeed domineering, but it wasn't really that terrifying. However, if it could be fired continuously, then it would be truly terrifying. Boring. Lin Fan felt that his mental state was a little empty. After firing too much, it felt empty and lonely. There was no movement in the distance. The beam of light pierced through the world and shot into the distance, but it soon disappeared. Damn, Alliance dogs, you are the ones who destroyed the life I was enjoying. I will kill you bastards. He didn't care whether or not the particle accelerator cannon killed the Alliance. Anyways, it had already been shot, so he just treated it as if it had hit. 9 Demon, look after Master's cannon. Don't let anyone else touch it. Lin Fan clapped his hands and left the city wall. He had to find his father and have a good talk. He couldn't just stay here. Although it was more dangerous to chase after the Alliance with cannons, as long as they were protected, there shouldn't be much trouble. Inside the house, Lin Wani looked at the map and frowned. The situation was getting worse. It was not the situation at the border, but the situation at the military fortress. Not good, not good. Patter. Father. Lin Fan didn't knock and just pushed the door open. Lin Wani was shocked, and then he scolded, "You unfilial kid. You don't even know how to knock. Get out." Lin Fan looked at his father and blinked. Then he backed out of the door and closed it. Lin Wani scoffed coldly. At the same time, he felt a little gleeful. It seemed like his dignity was still there, and he could subdue this unfilial kid. Dong dong. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Then there was a creak. Lin Fan pushed the door open and came in. "Father, we don't need to go through so much trouble." Lin Wani looked at Lin Fan in shock. He didn't expect this kid to be so mischievous. "Dad, why are you looking at me like that?" Lin Fan touched his face. Could it be that he had become more handsome recently? This shouldn't be the case. He was a little haggard after firing continuously for a few days. Rage points plus 66. Lin Wani took in a deep breath and told himself to calm down and not be angry. If he continued to be angry, this unfilial kid would make him sick. "What is it?" Lin Fan said, "Father, let's attack." His idea was to take the initiative to attack and not wait here. After obtaining the particle accelerator cannon, he had become slightly arrogant. "Do you know what you're saying?" Lin Wani frowned and asked fiercely. If they attacked, there would only be 2 outcomes. They would either break through the Alliance's main camp, or the Alliance would kill many of their experts. No matter which outcome it was, it would be a loss to U City. On the other hand, although the Alliance would suffer losses, the Alliance would be able to make up for them in the shortest amount of time. This was the biggest difference between the two sides. They had backup, but U City didn't. Lin Fan said, "Of course I know. Father, didn't I get the Alliance's weapon? I feel like if I use it to fire all the way, I will definitely be able to wipe out the Alliance." "Okay, don't say such unrealistic things. The weapon you're talking about is a particle beam cannon. Although it is strong, it isn't of much use to Alliance 9-star generals. Just stay here and don't think so much." Lin Wani didn't want to say much more. This suggestion was no different from no suggestion at all. The most important thing was this wasn't a battle that a single person could control. To Lin Wani, he just wanted to defend this place and do what he had to do. He wanted to pressure the Alliance so that the other cities would have less pressure. Lin Fan said, "Father, why do I feel like you have no fighting spirit at all?" Lin Wani dragged out his voice. "What did you say?" "Nothing." How could Lin Fan not see through his father's situation? It was obvious that he wanted to beat him up. Forget it. Since he couldn't convince him, then he should just retreat. Looking at the unfilial kid run away, Lin Wani, he shook his head helplessly. He continued to look at the map and think about what to do next. The Alliance's attacks were much stronger than before. Also, they had to chase the Alliance members from Igu City back. But what many of the border guards didn't know was that the Alliance's attack was the last, and they wouldn't retreat. They were going to use the strength of the Alliance to break open the gates to rich land. With just a number of people at the border, they weren't a match for the Alliance. After Lin Fan left his father's place, he was thinking about what he could do. It wasn't wise to go alone, so it was better to be safe. In the distance, Lin Fan looked at Old Wu and his eyes lit up. He had an idea. Old Wu. He ran over and was prepared to tell Old Wu about the situation. He would then pull the U-City experts closer to the Alliance to give him a chance to fire. As long as he fired, then the Alliance would have to call him father. Alliance headquarters. The people with the highest authority sat there, discussing the situation of the rich land. Everyone, the war between the Alliance and rich land has lasted for a long time. At such a time, we shouldn't drag it out. We have to take down the border in one go. Based on the news we received, there are many sects in rich land and many experts. However, they aren't united, and this is a chance for the Alliance. The old man in charge of the Alliance headquarters said, "This was a chance. If the sects in rich land worked together, then there was no point in playing. I have already met with the people in charge of Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island. We have come to an agreement that they will cooperate with the Alliance. In a few days, the Alliance will send people to attack the border." The people in the meeting room looked at one another. Which border should we choose? The old man said, U-City. If we want to attack, then attack the strongest one. Everyone kept silent. U-City's Lin Wani was a problem, and if they wanted to kill him, they would have to pay a huge price. This is the last chance for the Alliance headquarters. If we miss it, there won't be another chance. I hope that all of you can understand. Young master, we can't do that. With our strength, we can't ensure your safety. Old Wu rejected without even thinking. This couldn't be a joke, as someone might die. Lin Fan was helpless. Actually, he could protect himself, but he knew that it was useless even if he said that. Old Wu definitely wouldn't agree. As long as his father didn't agree, no one would bring him out. Actually, he felt like this was a chance. He could use the power of the cannon to fire randomly. That night, Old Master, Young Master wants me to call some people to bring him to the Alliance. Old Wu told Old Master about what happened in the day. Lin Wani said, "This kid is so arrogant just because he has some strength. Don't worry about him, and don't allow anyone to bring him out. Keep an eye on him, and don't let him head out alone." Old Wu thought about it for a moment. "Old Master, I think that Young Master's words make sense. We can't just defend here. Although I don't know how Young Master can fire so many particle accelerator cannons. If we work together with him, there might be a different outcome." Lin Wani didn't say anything and was in deep thought. He then shook his head. "No, we can't take the risk. We have to think about the big picture. Now that we have stabilized the balance, if we continue to push forward, the Alliance won't let us. They will gather experts to stop us. When that happens, it won't be the Alliance who start a war with us, but us." Old Wu was worried. "But Old Master, don't you think that the Alliance's attacks are getting stronger and stronger? This has never happened in the past. I am worried that the Alliance is really going to flatten the border." Lin Wani knew that Brother Wu's words made sense. He also knew that the Alliance's attacks were getting stronger and that it was different from before. "Okay, let's not talk about these things. The internal situation isn't good, and the 3 strongholds have been occupied by King Wudong. Based on my guesses, they will occupy Zwa City next. The Alliance wants to attack both internally and externally," Lin Wani said. Old Man Wu shook his head and let out a long sigh. "Master, this old servant will say something disgraceful. Why do you have to do all this? You should have brought the young master to a secluded place to live in seclusion. It would have been much better than being dragged into this storm without anyone to help. Are you afraid?" Lin Wani looked at Old Wu. "If you think it is not worth it, you can leave. You're still my good brother." "Pata." Old Wu knelt on the ground. "Old Master, I don't mean that. It is just that the imperial dynasty isn't worth you protecting. Although Madam's death wasn't caused by the imperial dynasty, it is related to her. Old Master will defend you city to the end, but young Master is your only bloodline. He doesn't owe the imperial dynasty or anyone else, so he shouldn't stay here. Lin Wani recalled something and waved his hands. Okay, let's not talk about all this in the future. I'm tired, so go out. Olbu got up and wanted to say something, but stopped. He then retreated out of the room. Lin Wani stood with his arms behind his back. He walked to the window and looked at the night sky outside. Shangri-La? He also wanted to bring Fan to live in seclusion, but now wasn't the time. Would Yu City be broken through? If it was in the past, Lin Wani could tell everyone that it wouldn't. But now he wasn't so sure. The alliance was slowly becoming stronger, and Yu City was slowly unable to fight against the alliance. Although the gap wasn't huge, if this continued, Yu City would definitely be flattened. Even the other defense lines would be the same. The only way to save them was for the sects to send experts to help. Otherwise, the chances were slim. Lin Fan's mind was filled with thoughts. He had at least 70 to 80 ways to make the alliance cry for their parents. But his strength didn't allow him to act cool. The 9-star generals of the alliance were like dogs, and that was really terrifying. If there weren't any experts protecting him, the 9-star generals would beat him up and injure him. But if they destroyed the particle accelerator cannon, then he would have no place to cry. On the city wall, "Young Master, are we firing cannons tonight?" Gozi asked. Lin Fan scratched his head. "Let's play a few firecrackers to liven things up before bed." Chapter 351. Cannons without a target were soulless. I really didn't expect such an outcome. Zhu Daoshan's expression was calm, but deep down, he was really unwilling. They retreated. Under the attacks of the natives, no. It wasn't the attacks of the natives, but the Alliance's weapons. They retreated far away until they were out of the range of the particle accelerator cannons. At that moment, the light in the distance was really eye-catching. But what a waste. They didn't need to tear open the dimension. After the light reached a certain distance, it slowly disappeared. Brother Zhu, the headquarters sent news to tell us not to act rashly and to wait for them to arrive. Mao Shintai appeared behind Zhu Daoshan. "Is the headquarters going to punish you, city?" Joy flashed in Zhu Daoshan's eyes like he had waited for a long time and finally received good news. Mao Shintai nodded. "Yeah, that is what they meant. It seems like the headquarters has zero tolerance toward Yu City. At the same time, they are under pressure such that they have no choice but to gather strength to wipe Yu City out. If Yu City is wiped out, then the other defense cities won't be a problem. When the alliance enters the rich land, no one will be able to stop them." Zhu Daoshan had waited for this day for too long. Mao Shuntai smiled. "Don't underestimate the top sects in the rich land." Zhu Daoshan wasn't stupid. He wouldn't say that they couldn't even defend the border. He knew that the top sects didn't appear because they were waiting for chaos. When that time came, they would all come out. Those top sects have other plans. As for us, we just need the rich land's resources. We don't need to disturb one another." Zhu Daoshan said. Mao Shintai smiled. The headquarters gathered experts over so they didn't have to work too hard. Of course, it seemed like they were confident, but actually, he knew that many people would die when they fought with Yu City. As for the 9-star generals, it would depend on who was unlucky. A few days later. "How can you do that?" Yu Yiming looked at Zhen Ming, who was covered in blood. Her eyes opened wide like she was stunned. Not far away, Zhen Ming stood in the ocean of corpses and his lips curled up. His smile was really cold. "How can I do that? Haven't I always been like this? Moreover, these people offended us. So how can we not kill them?" Zhen Ming waved his arm, and a ball of black flames covered the corpses around and started to burn. If King Wudong saw this, he would definitely exclaim, "Brother, you did a great job." If Lu Xian were to see this, he would definitely be unable to breathe. "Damn it, you even dared to wipe out King Wudong's vanguard army. You must be tired of living." It was a long story. King Wudong was forced into the 3 strongholds. He then sent troops to Zhui City and occupied some small cities along the way. Unfortunately, he was unlucky and bumped into Zhanming. Perhaps because the rebellion was about to succeed, the army was a little wild. He teased Yu Yunming and also scolded Jinming. What happened next was needless to say. This was the result. The vanguard army, without any experts, was finished just like that. Yu Yunming didn't expect Jinming's killing intent to be so strong. You promised me that without my permission, you wouldn't kill anyone. Jinming smiled and walked in front of Yu Yunming. He lifted her chin. What a dumb girl. Ha! Don't touch me. Yu Yunming smacked Jinming's finger. Stop following me. Jinming's expression turned cold, and then he smiled awkwardly. It is nothing, they just deserve to die. Yu Yunming didn't bother about him and just walked forwards. Jinming followed behind and felt a little suppressed. For some reason, he suddenly felt annoyed. He looked at the burning corpses and then chased. Don't be angry. Jinming was an expert from Hell Mountain who killed people like flies. He was really evil, but for some reason, after meeting this girl, he felt like he had become a bootlicker. This feeling was really magical. There were just too many women who wanted to follow him, so many that he couldn't even count them. But this was the first time he had such a feeling. The news of the vanguard army being wiped out spread out. Your Majesty, not good. The vanguard army has been wiped out. Guangdang. King Wudong kicked the table in front of him and stared in rage. What did you say? The soldier who came to report was terrified. He knew that King Wudong was furious. The vanguard army was intercepted and wiped out. Lu Xian and the others couldn't stand still. They didn't expect that someone would actually dare to do such a thing. Bring wine. King Wudong hollered in rage. He acted like it was real. His eyes turned red like he had suffered a huge blow when he heard the news. Very quickly, the wine came. King Wudong didn't say a word and just started to drink. Lu Xian knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, the dragon body is important. He felt that this was a sign that His Majesty was sad. But he couldn't drink like that. If his body got sick, then who would bring him to rebel? Important, your mom. He was in a good mood and was really worried. Who knew that someone would help him? How delightful. King Wudong was so excited that he wanted to roar out. But he felt that it wasn't good and that he would easily expose himself. So, it was better to drink. Damn, the people around him really wanted to rebel. He felt helpless. Old Wei said, Your Majesty, I would like to fight. The vanguard army doesn't have any experts, so naturally, they won't be a match for experts. Since that is the case, then please allow me to follow them. No matter who they are, I will be able to kill them. King Wutong squinted his eyes. Why did this old man have to act cool? Old Wei, there is no rush. They came prepared. Send people to investigate and see who did it. Once we know who did it, then we will ask Old Wei to kill them. Although he was annoyed looking at this old man, he had to admit that he was really strong. If he could drag it out, then he would drag it out. On a cloud peak, a few top sect leaders were gathered here. They had been paying attention to the border situation. If they worked with the alliance and surrounded them, there was a high chance that they would be able to destroy the border. But to the top sects, they wanted stability and wouldn't act on their own before they were 100% sure. The main reason why they were gathered here was to join forces. If the alliance broke through the border and planned to attack them, they would join forces to fight against the alliance. But if not, then they would just develop their own. They had even planned out the area. They would get close to one another and not interfere with each other's development. They would form an entire power and advance and retreat together. Now, they were just waiting for the alliance to break through the defense line. Imperial dynasty is about to be finished. Lin Wani has to die too. Everyone looked towards the sect leader like they wanted to ask how he was so sure. All of you don't need to look at me. I have my own methods. The alliance is prepared to go all out. Even if Lin Wani has 3 heads and 6 arms, he will die. The entrance of the alliance didn't make the top sects feel pressured. Instead, they felt like this was an opportunity. So, they were all waiting. As long as the Imperial dynasty was gone, it would be time for them to attack. During this period of time, Lin Fan was really bored. He went to the Eastern Forest again, wanted to have a good chat with the Yin Demon King about life, the future, and ideals. Who knew that? He didn't feel any rage at all. The Yin Demons all hid when they saw him. Who was the one who told him that even if the Yin Demons faced experts, they wouldn't retreat, and that they would come out and let him smash their heads. What nonsense! During this period of time, the 7 cities at the border stopped fighting. It was like something was going on with the alliance, and they didn't attack. This allowed them to take a breather, but as time went on, one would start to suspect something. What was going on with the alliance? There was actually no movement at all. Qin Zhong was still alive. When he wasn't fighting the alliance, he stayed by Master's side and focused on cultivating Buddhism. The old monk closed his eyes and played with his Buddhist beads. He suddenly opened his eyes and frowned. He had a bad feeling. "Master, what happened?" "I don't know. I feel like something bad is about to happen." The old monk shook his head. His cultivation was really high and his thoughts were accurate. He felt a little uneasy, but as for what it was, he didn't know. U-City Alliance main camp. More and more 9-star generals arrived. They came from the other cities, but not all of them came. Each city had a 9-star general in charge. Laozhan City General Xianlong asked, "I heard that the natives forced you to retreat. I didn't believe it at the start, but I didn't expect it to be true." "Xianlong, if you don't know how to speak, then don't." Zhu Daoshan took a look and was a little annoyed. "Brother Zhu, this matter has spread in the Alliance headquarters, and it isn't a secret. You're facing Lin Wani, so it is normal that you were forced back. It is just that Gang Xiong was unlucky and actually lost his life." Xianlong said regretfully, but one couldn't see any sadness in his expression. Mao Shentai frowned. "Xianlong, mind your words." Xianlong shrugged his shoulders, and it was obvious that he didn't care. The Alliance headquarters is prepared to send 29-star generals over. Along with the 6 from Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island, they're close to 49-star general-level experts. How can Lin Wani fight them? Xianlong smiled and felt that victory was in their hands. The Alliance had taken a huge risk. Xianlong, Mao Shuntai, and the others were experts who occupied cities. Now that they all appeared here, if the natives found out, they wouldn't be able to help but counterattack. But they needed to be quick. As long as everyone was here, they would attack right away. They didn't care so much. At that moment, more people arrived. They were all 9-star generals from the Alliance headquarters. 3 of them were on the same level as Zhu Daoshan and were some of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance. With the 3 of them and Zhu Daoshan, even Lin Wani had to see whether or not he could hold on. To U-City, this was a situation where they would definitely die. After so many years, their hard work didn't go to waste. Dozens of years ago, many top sects sent experts to deal a heavy blow to the Alliance. After plotting and roping them in, slowly the top sect stopped. As for their alliance, after a few attacks, they slowly wiped out a lot of the experts guarding the border. As long as those top sects didn't attack, U-City was finished. Chapter 352. U-City was in a mess. Large amounts of Alliance 9-star generals gathered here and were prepared to deal the strongest blow to U-City. It would be best if they could totally wipe out U-City. Lin Wani and the Alliance had fought for too long. The Alliance headquarters had finally solved their internal conflicts and were able to gather large amounts of 9-star generals to suppress rich land. Although the Alliance headquarters was one entity in the past, their internal conflicts were really intense. Now, the conflict had mostly disappeared. They wouldn't face any problems when they arranged for 9-star generals to come, so the Alliance would definitely win this battle. The 3 9-star generals that came were on the same level as Zhu Daoshan and were one of the strongest 9-star generals in the Alliance. Zhu Daoshan couldn't take down Lin Wani alone, so there were 3 more. So what if Lin Wani was strong? The Alliance headquarters had given him a chance to recruit him and even promised that if he joined the Alliance, they would make him the new ruler of the Imperial dynasty. Unfortunately, he didn't cherish it, so he couldn't blame others. A few days later, Laozhan City, Zhao Lishan was in deep thought and frowned like he was thinking about something. "Master Zhao, do you think that the situation is a little off? Xianlong actually hasn't done anything at all." Olshan was really confused. With the Alliance's personality, they definitely would not do anything for such a long time. What was going on? It was too mysterious, and one couldn't understand. Zhao Lishan felt that something wasn't right. do you think the Alliance is planning something? Old Master Wang, who hadn't said a word, said, with the current situation, I have a bold thought that Xianlong might not be there. The moment he said this, everyone around was shocked. Old Wang, don't make wild guesses. Old Master Wang said, it might not be a wild guess. We have all lived here for so long, and this isn't the first time we have fought against the Alliance. To the Alliance, who do they want to kill the most? Even without me saying it, all of you should know. Everyone frowned and kept silent like they were thinking about something. They then said with uncertainty, based on what you were saying, the Alliance is going to attack you city? Old Master Wang said, these are all my guesses. I'm not sure about the exact situation, but all of you should know that you city is the strongest out of all the border cities. If the Alliance wants to break into you city, it won't be possible with just a dozen 9-star generals. Moreover, they won't be ordinary ones. At least above Dao Realm Stage 5. Your grandpa will always be your grandpa. Uncle Wang was right. It was just that the content of this speculation was a little hard to believe for the time being. I don't think it's possible, Old Shin said. Old Master Wang shook his head. Nothing is impossible. To the Alliance, they didn't do anything too extreme, mainly because they were afraid of you city. At the same time, they tried to occupy Maigu City to see what happened there. But you all saw the outcome. Lin Wani brought people to flatten the Alliance's main camp. That was 1-for-1, restricting the Alliance's movements. So, if the Alliance wants to improve, they have to take down you city. If they do, then what awaits us is destruction. In the end, we don't have enough people. If we had enough experts, then such a thing wouldn't have happened. The Alliance's experts were much stronger than their few defense lines. Zhao Lishan said, let's try and see whether or not Xianlong is there. There was no situation on the Alliance's side at all. This made Zhao Lishan suspicious, but he didn't think too deeply about it. Old Wang's words made Zhao Lishan feel like there was a problem. Okay, let's test their situation. Provoking the Alliance, that is something that I have never thought about. Very quickly, Zhao Lishan brought everyone to attack the Alliance. If they weren't fighting, then they were checking out the Alliance's situation. Other 9-star generals came out, but they didn't see Xianlong. This made Zhao Lishan more and more suspicious. He felt like what Old Wang said might be true. But looking at the faces of the Alliance 9-star generals, they didn't fear anything. It also made one feel like Xianlong was there. But the more that was the case, the more uneasy Zhao Lishan felt. Only when Zhao Lishan saw a person did his suspicions disappear. That person was Xianlong. He stood in the Alliance main camp and smiled as he looked at him. In the distance, a person dashed over. He came from Yu City and brought an important letter and mission. Laozhan City was his target. A few days later, Yu City, Lin Fan waited here. Although it was a little boring to destroy the Alliance, he just waited quietly. His thoughts were really simple. He brought experts to wipe out the Alliance. Why did he have to wait for the Alliance to attack? Why didn't he want to attack at all? Hayes, it is still a problem of strength. If I was just a little stronger, I would wave my hand and pick up a cannon to shoot at your faces. Lin Fan laid on the chair and felt really helpless. Go Zi massaged his legs. To Go Zi, serving young master was his final goal and dream. A while ago, young master left him on Marshall Path Mountain, and he felt really sad. Now that he could accompany young master again, he was really emotional. But Zhou Zhongmao wasn't here. Otherwise, the group would be in order. Suddenly, something wasn't right in the sky. The calm clouds suddenly began to tumble violently like waves, wave after wave. What is going on? Lin Fan got up, and his expression was really solemn. The laziness from before was totally gone and was replaced with seriousness. That aura wasn't simple. It was really explosive. It was like a million demons had broken out of a seal and were charging over. At that moment, numerous people appeared beside Lin Fan in the Alliance main camp. Lin Wani looked solemnly into the distance. Shock appeared in his eyes, but there was also a bit of calmness like he knew about it. But maybe he didn't expect it to come so quickly. Fan leave. Now, immediately right now. Lin Wani opened his mouth, and his tone was unquestionable. Lin Fan raised his head and looked into the distance. No, father, I won't leave. No matter what trouble it is, I'm not afraid. He saw his father's hand trembling. In the past, his father gave him a really calm feeling like there was nothing he cared about. But now, he sensed seriousness and nervousness from his father. Even his father felt that it was a problem. He definitely wouldn't leave. Young master, listen to old master and leave. Old Wu's tone was solemn, and it wasn't as gentle as usual. The situation wasn't right. The aura that gathered in the distance was too terrifying. The Alliance finally couldn't take it anymore and wanted to wipe out Yu City. It seemed like Old Master's guess was right, but he didn't expect it to be so quick. I won't leave. There is no need to persuade me. Lin Fan said. Nothing would change his decision. Since he had decided to stay here, then he wouldn't leave. Wasn't it just the Alliance? He wouldn't be afraid. Although he didn't understand why his father and the others would stay here to fight the Alliance, he didn't need to think about it. If his father wanted to go all out, could he just sit there and do nothing and just leave? That was impossible. 9 Demon, bring Go Z and leave. Return to Marshall Path Mountain and tell him to hide. Lin Fan said without turning his head. Go Z was stunned and shook his head. Young master, I won't leave. I will go wherever you are. Even if I go down, I will stay by your side and serve you. What are you talking about? We haven't even fought, and you think that I will die? Lin Fan said. Go Z said, Young master, I don't mean that. But no matter what, I won't leave. 9 Demon, what are you doing? Such a big body is just for show. Aren't you going to hurry up? Lin Fan said calmly. Although he was a little nervous, wasn't this a normal situation? Such an unknown battle really made one nervous. 9 Demon bit Go Z with one head. The remaining 8 heads turned around and looked at Lin Fan. His eyes shone with a weird emotion. Let me go. I want to stay here and fight alongside young master. 9 Demon, let me go. But to 9 Demon, Go Z was too small. It was like he was biting a piece of meat in his mouth. He didn't even have room to fight back. Lin Fan nodded towards 9 Demon and then turned his head. Father, did the Alliance gather many experts? When we fight, you don't need to take care of me. I have my own ways to protect myself. Can you listen to me? Leave this place and find a place to hide. Is that okay? Lin Wani said calmly. Lin Fan shook his head. No, I definitely won't leave this place. Father, don't think about knocking me out. I'm not weak now, so let's not waste any more time. Others who are weaker than me are all here, yet you want me to leave. I've done some calculations. If I stay here, I might be able to save even more people. Could it be that to you, Father, the lives of those who have followed you for decades are worth less than mine? These words made a lot of sense. Of course, to Lin Wani, he was just a brute who didn't study much. Actually, he didn't like Lin Fan trying to reason with him. When Zhu Shun and Zhang Sheng saw this, they all wanted to persuade young Master Lin not to force himself here. It wasn't worth it for him to stay here. Master Lin had already sacrificed too much, no matter what the outcome was. He had to leave a successor behind. He couldn't afford to lose it. But before they could say anything, young Master Lin interrupted them. All of a sudden, they were speechless and didn't know how to persuade him. Young Master Lin was determined to stay here. When the people from Yu City learned about what happened at the Alliance border, they picked up their weapons and headed over. There were only Master Realm and Grandmaster Realm experts. They weren't enough to face the Alliance. But at that moment, they didn't fear anything. Chapter 353. I have to pay attention later. Lin Fan had a thought in his heart. He wasn't weak and was a dual cultivator at Initial Domain Realm. He could suppress anyone at the same realm. After he turned into a bug, he would definitely be able to fight with Dao Realm experts. But Dao Realm had 9 stages and each stage had huge strength. He didn't know how many stages he could fight against. How long? A loud explosion spread out from the distance. A terrifying might blotted out the heavens and the earth as it crushed over. Naturally, the Yu City experts wouldn't allow the Alliance to be so arrogant. Many auras charged into the sky and clashed with the Alliance's aura. An invisible aura clashed with one another. although one couldn't see it with the naked eye. However, he could feel how violent the collision between the two sides was. ZZ. It was like lightning was spreading. Amazing, Lin Fan exclaimed. He could sense that this battle would become really intense and terrifying. It wouldn't be as casual and simple as before. The alliance was serious. In the distance, alliance members covered the land and covered the sky. At the same time, there were more experts than before. The surrounding atmosphere was really suppressive. Lin Fan took in a deep breath and relaxed. He clenched his fists and then released them. His knuckles cracked. He, who hadn't been through many big battles, was a little nervous. Young master, since that is the case, then be careful and don't offend those people. When he saw the situation in the distance, old Wu's heart sank. Their gazes towards the alliance members were different. How could there be so many of them? The alliance wanted to totally wipe out U City. On rough estimation, there were at least 39 star generals. With U City's strength, in terms of top combat strength, there was no way they could fight the alliance. This battle would be a battle to the death, and one would have to pay with their lives. I know what I am doing, Lin Fan replied. Actually, he didn't, or rather, he didn't understand how dangerous the situation was. The alliance sent out too many 9-star generals. There was a 90% chance that U City would be wiped out. Maybe it was a 90% chance of survival. Lin Wani, the alliance gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Zhu Daoshan said, to deal with you, the alliance headquarters sent many people you are familiar with. Xianlong, Mao Shuntai, Shun, etc. Do you think that with your U City's strength, you can still fight? Lin Wani looked at everything coldly and didn't want to say anything. Lin Fan hesitated for a long time. If he didn't act now, there wouldn't be another chance. What are you trying to act cool for? Have you forgotten how I poured *T on your alliance? How dare you be so arrogant here? Lin Fan gathered his courage. Even if he was being targeted, he had to attract a wave of hatred. Speaking of *T, there was a scene that many alliance members couldn't forget. Even though it had been a while, it was still unforgettable. Rage points plus 999, rage points plus 999. A wave of rage points started to strike him. Lin Wani stared at Lin Fan in rage. He didn't say anything, but his eyes were filled with rage like he wanted Lin Fan to shut up. The current situation was very dangerous. Now that this unfilial kid provoked him, the Alliance 9-star generals would definitely target him. With the current situation, as long as a war broke out, even he wouldn't have the energy to protect him. Lin Wani, I advise your son to speak nicely. Don't regret it when you die. Zhu Daoshan said coldly. Old Wu didn't expect young master to be so bold. He wanted to pull young master back and tell him not to do that, but it was useless. Lin Fan was prepared to lay all his cards on the table. If he still kept a low profile, then when they fought, he wouldn't be able to help at all. Old man, stop talking nonsense. You make it sound like you are so strong. When Gang Xiong was killed, you looked on. Just your dumb alliance dogs want to break through the defense line? Stop dreaming. Lin Fan hollered in rage. Oh my god. The alliance members behind all looked at this arrogant kid. How King crazy. Rage points increased. Zhu Daoshan was furious. This kid definitely couldn't be left alive. This damn kid was so arrogant at such a young age. Did he really think that the alliance was easy to bully? Lin Fan looked at the accumulated rage points. Quite a bit. The main reason was because the alliance was strong enough. He secretly improved. First, he cultivated a few cultivation techniques. The techniques he had didn't have Dao Realm ones, so he would have to rely on himself for the later ones. At that moment, Zhu Daoshan suppressed the rage in his heart and looked at Lin Wani. Lin Wani, you have seen the current situation. With your U-City's strength, you won't be able to block us. Now, there's a path in front of you. If you surrender, the Alliance can let everyone here go, including your son. Haha. Lin Wani laughed, and then his expression turned cold. Zhu Daoshan, stop dreaming. The people who stayed here didn't care about their lives. U-City might be wiped out today, but don't worry, I will make your alliance pay a heavy price. Lin Wani's aura shocked the alliance members so much that they didn't dare to say anything. especially to the 9-star generals. They knew that Lin Wani was speaking the truth. To wipe out Yu City, the price would definitely be huge. He had thought about it. At least half of the 9-star generals had to die to be able to kill Lin Wani. Mao Shuntai said, "If we have a chance, capture that kid and use him to threaten Lin Wani. I don't think he won't care about his son, right?" Zhu Daoshan nodded, understood. At that moment, Lin Fan noticed that Mao Shuntai was muttering something into Zhu Daoshan's ear. Actually, he didn't need to think about it. She could also understand what he was talking about. "Father, don't worry about me. These two people are talking so sneakily. They definitely want to use me as a hostage to threaten you. If they really succeed, then don't worry about me. Just do what you have to do. I will self-destruct and bring them away." Lin Fan muttered. Even what he would do when he was caught was described clearly. That was really terrifying. Zhu Daoshan looked at Lin Fan and actually didn't know what to say. Were the young people so fierce now? Lin Wani looked at Lin Fan. Although he didn't have much of an expression, he felt really helpless. Was he really going to die here? He wasn't afraid that he would die. He really didn't want Lin Fan to die here. The overly arrogant Lin Fan had always been the target of the Alliance members' rage. From the start till now, every single word he said was arrogant. The increase in rage points exceeded Lin Fan's expectations. Increase. God Body's 550 value jumped and continued to rise. Before the battle started, he had to quickly raise his cultivation base. 1. Lin Fan could sense that the power in his body was slowly increasing, but he was suppressing it. At that moment, Zhu Daoshan seemed to have received a notification. His expression changed like he didn't expect this to happen. Lin Wani noticed the change in Zhu Daoshan's expression and said, "Did you receive news that the various camps at the border are under attack? You knew about it long ago?" Zhu Daoshan was shocked like he didn't expect that. "You want to use your life and the lives of everyone in Yu City to restrict us and let them grab this chance. But how did you know?" Lin Wani smiled and raised his head to look at Zhu Daoshan. "Come, my existence has made your alliance unhappy. I won't be able to do much in my life, so the biggest thing I will do is drag your alliance down. When the sandpiper and clam fight, the fisherman benefits. Your alliance thinks that you are the fisherman, but what you don't know is that in the eyes of others, you are just a wooden club." He had seen through everything. The battle between the alliance and their border cities was a battle of attrition. One shouldn't underestimate those top sections. Maybe they weren't of the same mind, but when a fat piece of meat appeared and it wasn't too dangerous, they would crazily surge over. The Yu City battle ended. If they were wiped out, a chaotic war would break out and the imperial dynasty would be hard to protect. The top sects and the alliance would suppress one another, and naturally, many factions would break out. Lin Fan calmly improved. At the same time, he looked at his father. This father who didn't study for many years and liked to read good books was obviously thinking about dying. No, but that definitely couldn't happen. No matter what, he wouldn't let his father die here. Zhu Shun held the machete in his hand and repaired it. The machete was still a little old, but it was enough to kill enemies. He shouted in his heart that he was going to fight 5 of them today. In the past, he would fight 2. As for fighting 5, he didn't think that he would be able to survive. Kill. Zhu Daoshan's face was dark and sunken. He waved his hands, and the alliance members headed towards Yu City. The Yu City experts hollered in rage and pounced towards the alliance members. As for the Dao Realm experts, they were searching for opponents. Their biggest enemies were those 9-star generals. Mysterious Sun-Sky Flame Formation. Gung Metal Killing Formation. Rise. The unassuming Zhang Tianshan hollered in rage. He held a jade stone and smacked it towards the ground. Instantly, many streaks of light swept forwards. Honglong. Light surged into the sky from all directions, forming a light barrier that covered the area. "Kid, take a good look. This is how amazing I am," Zhang Tianshan shouted towards Lin Fan. The formation that he prepared was finally put to use. Some alliance members charged into the formation and were attacked by a fire dragon. They were wrapped around by the fire dragon, and with a pung, they turned to dust. It is indeed amazing. This was the first time Lin Fan saw the strength of old Zhang's formation. It was indeed really strong, but to some experts, it wasn't strong enough to insta-kill them. Zhu Shun, let's not be too far away and take care of one another. No matter what, don't let the Alliance dogs leave. Zhang Sheng said. Zhu Shun said, don't worry, I don't want to live today. Lin Fan took out the particle accelerator cannon and started to charge it. At the same time, he raised his cultivation. Damn, they were finally going to fight. He was afraid. Chapter 354. Great, the Alliance sent 35 9-star generals. Zhang Xing took a close look and counted. His heart was really solemn. 35 9-star generals were enough to destroy any place. Now, the Alliance sent so many to deal with U-City. Or rather, to deal with Master Lin. He knew that Master Lin was strong, but there was a limit. Facing so many 9-star generals, the outcome was obvious. Of course, Zhang Sheng didn't know that there were a total of 38 9-star generals. 3 of them didn't show up and were waiting for a chance. This chance was to kill Lin Wani in one strike. U-City didn't have many Dao Realm experts. This wasn't a fair battle. In the distance, Lin Wani held his halberd and faced the 4 9-star generals. Zhu Daoshan, Mao Shuntai, Xianlong, Shun. Zhu Daoshan was the strongest and the other 3 were weaker. But even then, they were a force to be reckoned with. At that moment, Lin Wani activated his domain, and the terrifying domain covered the 4 of them. Zhu Daoshan released his 2, and instantly, 2 terrifying powers clashed with one another. Such a battle wasn't something that normal people could handle. Lin Fan stood there and didn't move. He continued to raise his strength and looked towards the battlefield. Old Wu and Zhu Shan faced several 9-star generals and were under huge pressure. Very quickly, they were at a disadvantage, but they still fought back. In the distance, the U-City experts were in a chaotic battle with the Alliance members. Occasionally, people would fall from the sky. The battle was really intense. DD, the particle beam cannon was filled with energy. Damn, I'm going to blast all of you to death. Lin Fan chose a direction and pressed the button. Hong Long, a streak of light exploded. It was really quick, and before the Alliance experts could react, they saw a streak of light strike them. They didn't even cry out before they were covered by the light and turned to dust. Arrogant Alliance dogs, I will send all of you to the heavens with one cannon. Lin Fan didn't say any nonsense and continued to place his hand into the particle beam cannon. There was movement from the Alliance. Particle beam cannon. That native is using the particle beam cannon. Everyone be careful. This is our Alliance's weapon, so how can we let the natives use it to hurt us? They hollered in rage. When they saw that person, they roared in rage. One of the marshals noticed this. He knew that the kid was Lin Wani's son and that the particle accelerator cannon beside him belonged to the Alliance. He wanted to go over and take him down, but the U-City experts definitely wouldn't let him pass. You dog, don't even think about leaving my place. Zhu Shun hollered and slashed down with his blade. A terrifying power exploded and blocked off his path. In Zhu Shun's domain, he could sense everything. At the same time, he could make the quickest decision. Lin Fan was eager to level up. Damn it. He was really anxious without any Dao Realm techniques. He didn't know what the Dao Realm looked like and what it felt like. He really wanted to reach that realm, but he had already felt it. If he wanted to raise from Domain Realm to Dao Realm, the requirements were just too huge. It was too terrifying. DD, when the particle beam cannon was fully charged, it discovered that Old Wu was injured. Facing the combined attacks of the 3 marshals, it actually found that Old Wu was somewhat unable to hold on. Son of a bitch. Lin Fan hollered in rage. He aimed the particle accelerator cannon at the 9-star general and fired. Old Man Wu treated him very well. Now that he was injured by the marshal, he was still fighting. This made him furious. Strength. Without strength, everything was fake. Good kid. That 9-star general with a goatee noticed the danger. He waved his arm and ripped open the dimension. He was really quick, as he was extremely familiar with the control of the dimension. Lin Fan grabbed his stomach, and the sword seed floated out. With a shio, it reached the border of the dimension. Explode. There was a loud explosion. The explosion of the sword seed created a terrifying might that caused the dimension to become unstable. The goatee general frowned. He clenched his fingers and closed the dimension. He then slapped forwards and instantly extinguished the beam of light. "Young master, I am still okay. Protect yourself." Old Wu hollered, and then his attacks became even more intense. Lin Fan was anxious. Rage points surged in, but it wasn't enough. He wanted more. In the distance, there was a familiar voice. Although he wasn't familiar with it, he knew that the fat old lady was the one who sold onions at the city gate. At that moment, the old lady self-destructed. The power from her self-destruction covered the Alliance experts around, causing the area around to become empty. He knew that the people in U City were all prepared to die. Old Wu told him before. The people here all had different identities. Some had committed heinous crimes, and some were bandits. There were also elders and sect leaders of large sections. There were all sorts of people here. They came to U City. Some were attracted by someone's charisma. Some had beliefs that others couldn't understand and were willing to give up everything to come here to contribute. Old Wu had also mentioned something to him. One of the U City Dao Realm experts was an elder from a top evil sect. After wiping out a sect, he realized that the survivor was a blind brat. She couldn't see anyone and didn't know what had happened. The evil path elder looked at the brat, and who knew what he was thinking about? Maybe he didn't know what the brat told him. He came to U City and had stayed here for decades. The people from U City said that. Don't be angry because of our deaths. Didn't they already know the outcome when they came here? Lin Wani, take a good look. How many people died because of your resistance? You can bring them away and the Alliance won't care. Zhu Daoshan said. Lin Wani was really strong. Even with Mao Shantai and the others, he was still the same. Mao Shantai and the others were actually injured. If it wasn't for him taking care of them, they would have been killed. Lin Wani's aura rose, and the light from the halberd in his hand became more and more eye-catching. What is the point of saying all this? Either U City is wiped out, or the Alliance will retreat. There won't be a third outcome. Xianlong, go capture his son, Zhu Daoshan said. Xianlong looked at Lin Wani and dashed towards Lin Fan. You are asking to die. Lin Wani hollered in rage, and the halberd in his hand gave off a bright light. The halberd seemed to become bigger and bigger as it smacked towards Xianlong everywhere the halberd passed. The space around it exploded. The aura was shocking, and it had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Xianlong sensed the terrifying aura and turned his head. A look of terror appeared on his face. Zhu Daoshan. What is the meaning of this? He didn't expect that Zhu Daoshan didn't stop him and instead told Lin Wani to attack. Are you trying to sell me out? Zhu Daoshan's expression changed. At that moment, he grabbed the chance to attack. He didn't say that to Mao Shantai and the others. Instead, he said it to the 3 9-star generals who were hiding. At that moment, the 3 9-star generals who were hiding in the dimension appeared. Some waved their fists and some slapped their palms. The aura they gave off pierced through the sky. There was a loud explosion. It landed on Lin Wani's body. Lin Wani, I told you that you would do anything for your son, but you didn't believe me. Zhu Daoshan laughed coldly. Lin Wani hollered in rage and didn't worry about them. He pressed down with the halberd and killed Xianlong right away. Zhu Daoshan was stunned. He didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to stop Lin Wani. But forget it. Sacrificing a 9-star general to heavily injure Lin Wani was just too worth it. Lin Wani, you have always wanted to kill me. Unfortunately, you are going to die to me. The 9-star general who spoke was like Zhu Daoshan. He was known as the strongest 9-star general in the Alliance. When Lin Wani heard this familiar voice, his expression changed. He turned around and looked at him. When he saw the face that he hated so much, he exploded. Wu Zhiga, I want you to die. Lin Wani hollered in rage. A terrifying aura exploded from his body. Pung, pung. Instantly, a shockwave blew forwards and forced the 3 of them back. Astronomical phenomenon. Wu Zhiga found it weird. He didn't expect Lin Wani to actually use it. This was a secret technique that required one to burn energy at God Tao Realm Stage 4. At this moment, Lin Wani was 100,000 feet tall, and his aura became even more terrifying. Every time he raised his hand, he would be able to cause an unstoppable storm. Father! Lin Fan took everything in. When he saw his father being sneak attacked, he felt like he was about to suffocate. In the end, did he distract his father? But looking at the situation, father had become more overbearing. Guys, let's work together to kill him. It is like killing his wife. Wu Zhiga said coldly. Zhu Daoshan frowned. Things had already reached such a stage, so why did they have to provoke him? He would really die. For the strongest 9-star generals, along with Mao Shuntai and Shun, a total of 6 9-star generals turned into 100,000-foot giants. As their auras were too terrifying, the surrounding space started to collapse. Lin Wani hollered in rage and swept forwards with his halberd. The aura was just too terrifying, causing the ground to crack and space to shatter. Even the sky was ripped apart. Lin Wani's body gave off a golden light. As he exploded, the golden light became thicker and thicker. Tao Realm Stage 5, Saint King appeared. There were 9 stages in the Tao Realm, and each stage had a special ability. But if one wanted to use it, it would consume a huge amount of energy. How long? How long? The battle here was earth-shattering, and the power was too terrifying. No one dared to approach this place. Save me. Pucci. The halberd pierced Shin's body. This 9-star general was much weaker than Zhu Daoshan, and the moment Lin Wani pierced his body, he knew that death was about to descend upon him. Pum! Shin's body exploded, and his 100,000-foot body fell to the ground. He shrunk and was only left with some minced meat. 8 Desires Extreme Tao. Wu Zhiga hollered in rage. He pushed forwards with his palms, and with a loud explosion, he struck Lin Wani's back. Pucci. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. You are asking to die. Lin Wani turned around and slashed down with his halberd. The entire power of heaven and earth seemed to have been drawn in, turning into a streak of light that exploded. Pum! Wu Zhiga suffered a heavy blow and retreated. His eyes were filled with shock. So strong. Suddenly, Lin Wani noticed that a City Tao Realm expert had died, and the 4 Alliance 9-star generals were heading towards his son. He was shocked, but at that moment he stopped in his tracks. Father, don't come over. I can deal with them. Lin Fan hollered. Slowly, a terrifying aura exploded from his body. Tao Realm, break through. Lin Fan added points, and both internal and external cultivation reached stage 1 of Tao Realm, Tao Pattern Realm. Phenomenons occurred. I have cultivated too many techniques, which is why it is so difficult. But I'm the strongest. Chapter 355. Tao Realm Stage 1, Tao Pattern Realm. This was the most crucial step from Domain Realm to Tao Realm. There was once an expert who said this. Although Tao Pattern Realm was just the entrance to Tao Realm, it would affect everything in the future. Damn, this kid. The 4 9-star generals looked at the eye-catching scenes in front of them. They were so shocked that they didn't know what to do. They were all Tao Realm experts and naturally understood what would happen when one broke through from Domain Realm to Tao Realm. At that moment, this was the start of the change. There were simply way too many secret manuals that Lin Fan cultivated. Not including heart cultivation techniques, there were already 63 of them. Some people might say, isn't it just 63 sects? I can also cultivate that many. However, he had cultivated all 63 cultivation techniques to the highest level. Returning to true, the Tao was extremely simple. Every move he made was compatible with the Tao. At that moment, numerous streaks of light exploded out from his body and wrapped around him. If one looked closely, one would notice that there was a small person in the light that was using some deep and indiscernible cultivation technique. These were all the cultivation techniques that Lin Fan cultivated. When he reached returning to true, these cultivation techniques underwent shocking changes when he broke through to Tao Realm. A streak of light charged down and instantly drowned Lin Fan. In the light, Lin Fan clenched his fists. The cultivation techniques that he cultivated in the past slowly turned into Tao patterns. Heart cultivation also changed at the same time. A total of 73 Tao patterns were formed, and they were all returning to true, complete Tao patterns. How long? A terrifying aura spread out, causing everyone to be unable to open their eyes. What terrifying power! The 4 9-star generals were shocked and filled with disbelief. Lin Wani was shocked and muttered, "My son has reached Tao realm." No matter who it was, even Lin Wani himself found it hard to believe. Zhu Daoshan hollered, "What are all of you doing? Kill him." The 4 9-star generals had a troubled expression on their faces. It was like they were saying, "General Zhu, aren't you making things difficult for us?" The aura that this person gave off was a little terrifying, and we might not be able to block it. At that moment, Lin Fan floated in the air. His long hair shot into the sky, and his wave-like aura continued to boil. The changes to his god body were a little shocking. Many black patterns appeared on his skin. To put it simply, these were Tao patterns. It was a wonderful thing. Lin Fan specially asked Zhang Sheng what would happen if he cultivated his god body to Tao realm. The answer he got was that it would be amazing, but there definitely wouldn't be any Tao patterns. Could it be that I've cultivated my cultivation method to a very high level, resulting in this change? After thinking about it for a while, he felt that it made sense. Who? Lin Fan let out a breath of air as the aura that was coiling around him spread out. Good opportunity, kill. The 4 marshals, who were in a daze, couldn't help but roar in rage when they saw this. The opportunity was here. It was up to them to grab it. Xiao, the 4 9-star generals weren't weak and were around Tao realm stage 2. Lin Wani was shocked by his son's breakthrough. But when he saw the 4 9-star generals attack, he was shocked. A breakthrough was a breakthrough, but it was just Tao realm stage 1. Without a solid foundation, how could he be a match for these 4 marshals? Fan be careful, Lin Wani exclaimed and wanted to charge over to help. It was impossible to rely on Zhu Shun and the others. They couldn't even protect themselves, so how could they protect him? Wu Zhiga's lips were covered in blood. He realized that Lin Wani was injured and still wanted to protect his son. As expected, this was a good chance. Lin Wani, watch how your son is beaten to death. It must be painful to lose 2 important family members. This is what happens when you go against the Alliance. No one will feel pity for you because everything you do is meaningless. Wu Zhiga laughed maniacally. But at that moment, pung, it was as if the entire world was shaking. He looked into the distance, and his pupils constricted like he had seen a ghost. The 4 9-star generals who attacked Lin Fan. No, there were only 3 now. As for the last one, he had disappeared. If one had to say where he went, maybe he was in that bottomless hole in the ground. Just now, that 9-star general charged really quickly and was right in front of him in the blink of an eye. However, with just a single punch, Lin Fan realized that the power that burst forth was simply way too horrifying. It was as though the void before him was about to explode. It formed a shockwave that covered an extremely wide area, encompassing that 9-star general entirely. He is already so strong. Lin Fan was only at Tao realm stage 1 Tao pattern realm, but the power that exploded out was just too shocking. This was the amazing thing about dual cultivation reaching Tao realm. Everyone at the scene was stunned. Young Master. Old Wu's injuries became more and more serious, but he looked on with his mouth agape. He couldn't bear to see young Master die, but who knew that the situation would change? One of the 4 9-star generals who attacked young Master was actually killed by young Master. This change was just too quick. Everyone was unable to react at all. Father, I've already become a Tao realm expert, so don't worry about me. Today, the 2 of us will fight to the death with the Alliance. Lin Fan hollered. To be honest, he was really nervous. Was he strong? He was definitely strong. But the key was that the Alliance's 9-star generals were really strong too. If not for his father and the others, his thoughts would have been really simple. If he could run, then he would run. If he didn't run after acting cool, then he would be killed instead. But he couldn't. He couldn't abandon his father and leave. This was why he could only grit his teeth and stay here to fight the Alliance. Lin Wani was delighted, but he was filled with shock and disbelief. But now wasn't the time to think about such things. He felt slightly more at ease. It was good that Fan had the ability to protect himself. Zhu Daoxin frowned and then looked at Mao Shentai. His meaning was obvious. Take the chance to kill this kid. Mao Shentai panicked. Again, he knew how Xianlong died. He listened to Zhu Daoxin and headed over to kill the kid. He was killed by the furious Lin Wani, and he witnessed all of that. Now, he actually told him to go. That was just a beast. Mao Shentai nodded his head and acted like he understood what he meant. He was thinking about how the kid did it. He had just broken through to Dao Realm, but was actually so strong. That was just impossible. Also, it was unheard of for someone to become a Dao Realm expert at such a young age. If such a person really appeared, then naturally he was a monster. He couldn't be left alive. All the Alliance 9-star generals were thinking that he couldn't be left alive. If he was left alive, then he would be a problem. It was hard to imagine how strong he would become if he had enough time. Maybe he would grow to a point where no one could stop him. Lin Fan could feel the swelling power in his body. This was a whole new realm. Strong, really strong. He opened his arms. At that moment, 10,000 swords hung in the air and gave off a sharp, destructive sword intent. The sword seeds had turned into Dao patterns. Their strength increased by another level. The sword Dao that he occasionally played around with had unknowingly become so terrifying. At that moment, Lin Fan was floating in the air. His long hair danced in the wind, and he looked like a sword god. The Alliance members raised their heads. The light was a little eye-piercing, but the sharp aura wrapped around their hearts. Lin Fan chuckled. Stretching out his palm, he then pushed it down. Xiao! A sky full of sword shadows swept forwards. It was really quick. A buzzing sound reverberated throughout the area. Other people would slowly increase the strength of their moves, but Lin Fan didn't fear anything. Each time he attacked, he used a huge move. Moreover, it wasn't a normal move, but one that could kill. Very quickly, the Alliance members sensed how terrifying Lin Fan was. One sword sliced their throats. Some of them didn't even have the chance to scream. Why is there such a huge gap between people? The U-City experts were confused. They weren't weak, but young Master Lin's moves were just too eye-catching. Moreover, they were really strong. Lin Fan was really calm. He waved his arm, and the scattered sword intent gathered together, piercing the chest of a domain realm expert. Kid, you are asking to die. The Alliance 9-star generals couldn't take it anymore. He was just too arrogant. What did he treat their people as? He was just asking to die. A 9-star general slapped forwards. The space shook and the dimension ripped open like it was trying to absorb all the attacks. Unfortunately, it was obvious that he had failed. Your dimension isn't that strong, Lin Fan said. Under the astonished gaze of the other party, the sword will pierce through the dimension and appeared once more, slashing towards the other party. Rage points plus 999. Luo Tian. The 9-star general hollered in rage. A terrifying power pressed forwards and blocked Lin Fan's sword. It continued to suppress it, causing the sword intent to collapse and shrink. Kid, don't be too arrogant. You just entered Dao Realm, so just comprehend it. You dare to provoke me, who is at Dao Realm Stage 2. What ability do you have? This 9-star general was also at Dao Realm Stage 2 Dimension Control. He was a normal 9-star general in the Alliance. Dao Realm Stage 9, and each stage was really tough to improve. Who knew how many geniuses thought that after they stepped into Dao Realm, they would be able to fly into the sky? But very quickly, they realized that Dao Realm was different from cultivation in the past. Each stage was just too difficult. Lin Fan chuckled. Grabbing out with his 5 fingers, he pulled out a long sword from the torrent of swords. He then roared out and slashed out. The 9-star general was shocked. He sensed an unblockable sword intent heading towards him. He raised his head. That sword that seemed like it could split open heaven and earth struck towards his head. For some reason, it made him feel like he couldn't block it at all. How is that possible? He just entered Dao Pattern Realm, So why would his sword, Poochie? When the sword landed, there was no blood at all. It was like an invisible thing had pierced through his body. Slowly, the sword in his hand disappeared. This was a sword formed from the strongest sword intent. At that moment, a light shot out from the 9-star general's body. His body trembled, and in the end, the light dissipated. The second 9-star general had fallen. Lin Fan's strength left everyone in awe. He was unreasonable. Chapter 356. Father, do you think that I am strong? Lin Fan looked at his father and smiled. He really wanted to be mischievous. But at this moment, he really couldn't be mischievous at all. His father's injuries were imprinted in his eyes. Father was really strong. If not, the Alliance wouldn't have sent 3 of the strongest 9-star generals. Along with Zhu Daoshan, there were 4 of them. This was already a terrifying battle prowess. Perhaps apart from his father, no one would be able to withstand it. A smile appeared on Lin Wani's cold face like he was happy. But very quickly, he retracted his smile. Wu Zhiga and the others attacked right away. They took the chance to kill Lin Wani. Lin Wani, you're a strong person, but your son is better than you. Not only will you die today, but even your son will die. Wu Zhiga said fiercely. He could see Lin Fan's terrifying talent. If he continued to develop, he would definitely grow into someone even more terrifying than Lin Wani. This was why he had to suppress him before he grew up to solve all future problems. Lin Wani smiled. He wasn't laughing at him, but because he was praising his son, it made him happy. He wanted his son to become a dragon in the past, and now he finally did so. But what he had to face was something that others couldn't imagine. Lin Fan knew that the Alliance 9-star generals remembered him, but all of that didn't matter. He could only fight them to the death. But with the current situation, he could still kill them. Who knew what kind of 9-star generals would suppress him? Domain activated. Lin Fan's domain started to change. Maybe because of the merger with the Darkness God domain, his domain was different from others. Domain expanded. 100 meters, 1,000 meters, 10,000 meters, until it covered the entire battlefield. Everyone looked at Lin Fan in shock. What kind of domain was that? Their eyes turned gray, and there was even a dark aura covering the area. Kill him. Who knew who shouted, but it was definitely an Alliance 9-star general level expert. The remaining 2 9-star generals looked at one another. They knew that they weren't Lin Fan's match and instantly retreated. General Zhu, we aren't his match. We need help. They obviously didn't dare to be careless. Didn't they see how the other 2 died? Even Dao Realm Stage 2 experts weren't his match. How'd he cultivate? He was just a Dao Realm Stage 1 Dao Pattern Realm. Mao Shintai, what are you doing? Zhu Daoshan hollered. They couldn't split up, and only when the 4 strongest 9-star generals fought with Lin Wani would they be able to pressure him. Although Mao Shintai was strong, it was hard for him to be of any help to Lin Wani. Since that was the case, why not kill this kid? Mao Shintai wanted to move, but he realized that Lin Wani's aura was locked onto him. F***CK. What kind of maniac was this guy? He was being held back by 4 of the strongest 9-star generals, but he could still pay attention to him. However, he really had no choice but to go now. He gritted his teeth. If he couldn't beat the old, how could he not beat the young? Without a second word, he charged towards Lin Fan. Lin Wani, don't even think about saving your son. He's dead, and you'll die too. Wu Zhiga was really arrogant. At the same time, he would mention Lin Fan from time to time. It was obvious that he wanted to distract Lin Wani. In a battle between true experts, all of them had to be completely focused. They absolutely did not dare to be distracted. That was because the situation was changing at every moment. Lin Fan raised his head and looked into the distance. Mao Shuntai was heading towards him. This was an expert. He was different from the 9-star generals he faced and was much stronger. But even then, he didn't fear anything. He realized that his father was paying attention to him like he was going to save him. Father, if you want to fight, then fight properly. Don't worry so much. If I die, then take revenge for me. If you die, I will take revenge for you. Lin Fan hollered. He hoped that his father could fight those few people properly and not be too careless. Otherwise, he would really die. Lin Wani wanted to smash this unfilial kid's head. He cared about him, and he dared to lecture him to fight properly. Forget it. If he could survive this, then he would teach him a lesson. But Lin Wani was really worried. Mao Shintai wasn't weak, and one could even say that he was really strong. He couldn't think too much about it. He had to deal with all of this quickly to have a chance to save him. If not, everything would be useless. Damn, eat one of my cannons. Lin Fan aimed the particle accelerator cannon at Mao Shintai and fired. The light exploded. It was really quick, but to Mao Shintai, the particle accelerator cannon could deal with some kids, but it was just a dream to deal with him. Mao Shintai slapped forwards and destroyed the light beam. He didn't give the particle accelerator cannon a chance at all. It is useless. Lin Fan kept the particle accelerator cannon into the dimension. Facing Mao Shintai, his heart was beating really quickly. He was about to exchange blows with him, and who knew what the outcome would be? He had to use all his strength. How long? Lin Fan hollered. All the power from his dual cultivation exploded out. Alliance dogs, if you have balls, then come. I will fight you to the end. All his strength exploded out. His physical body had become a Dao body, and those black patterns were Dao patterns. This was something that no one else had. As expected, he is really amazing. Leaving this kid alive will cause problems in the future. Luckily, Lin Wani didn't hide him. Otherwise, in just a short while, the Alliance would be in huge trouble. Mao Shintai loved people who thought they were geniuses. Not only were they not low profile, but they were also arrogant. Pung! Lin Fan turned into a streak of light and struck towards Mao Shintai. A battle had to be intense, and one couldn't retreat. If one was afraid, then that would be the start of the loss. At that moment, Lin Fan reached out and clenched the air. Pung! The ground exploded and a giant stone hand shot out. With a smacking sound, it grabbed Mao Shintai. What a small technique in the domain. Mao Shintai scoffed coldly. With a pung, the stone hand exploded and turned into stone shrapnel. Lin Fan was calm. He waved his arm, and everything in the domain was under his control. A gray mist formed into a sword, and with a shio, it struck towards Mao Shintai. This kid's domain is a little strong. Mao Shintai was shocked and was even filled with disbelief. But to him, these were just small tricks. The gap between the two of them was a gap that couldn't be crossed. Lin Fan could kill a Dao Realm Stage 2 expert, and that was already shocking. But to fight Mao Shintai, there was still a huge gap. Pung! Pung! The explosions continued. Before Lin Fan even arrived in front of Mao Shintai, he had already used so many skills. Suddenly, Mao Shintai appeared behind Lin Fan. Kid, die. Lin Fan was calm and sensed Mao Shintai's actions. He turned around and punched. The two powers clashed with one another, and a terrifying shockwave exploded out. So strong. Lin Fan frowned. Mao Shintai's strength exceeded his expectations. He thought that, even if he was strong, he wouldn't be so overpowered. But at this moment, he realized that he was thinking too much. Pung! Lin Fan's body seemed to have suffered heavy injuries. He fell to the ground and smashed a deep hole. Brat, the gap between us is like heaven and earth. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth just because you have some strength. You are simply courting death. Lin Wani, look at what happened to your son. In my hands, he's just trash. Mao Shintai laughed coldly. For some reason, he started to mock Lin Wani. Damn, what was he saying? Suddenly, Mao Shintai felt like there was something wrong with his head. Why was he saying all this? Lin Wani and Zhu Daoshan were having an intense battle. Wasn't he just asking for trouble for himself? Zhu Daoshan frowned. He realized that Lin Wani's attacks were getting stronger and stronger. Mao Shintai, that dog. If you wanted to kill him, then just kill him. Why was he talking so much nonsense? Pung! Lin Fan flew into the air. He was injured, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Trash. If you have balls, then come at me. How long? The phenomenons in the domain exploded. Lin Fan cultivated so many techniques, and activating all of them consumed a lot of energy. But at this moment, he had to use all his strength to fight him. No, maybe it would be a little difficult. At that moment, Zhu Shun, Zhang Sheng, and Old Wu stood back to back and talked to one another. They were all panting. "Brother Wu, are you okay?" Zhang Sheng asked. Old Wu looked into the distance at where young master was. His eyes were filled with worry. "I am okay, but my young master... No, I have to save him. He isn't Mao Xintai's match at all. Calm down. It is useless even if you go. At this moment, you should think about how to delay these 9-star generals before Master Lin wins. Otherwise, if they all attack Master Lin, no matter how strong he is, he will definitely die." Zhu Xin said. His machete was already broken. He and Zhang Sheng blocked a total of 10 9-star generals, trading injuries for lives. The two of them killed a total of 5 9-star generals. This was already their limit. Yu City only had 5 Dao Realm experts left. The rest had all died in battle. They didn't die for nothing. Before they died, they took away many Alliance 9-star generals. Even if they didn't, they were badly injured. To the Alliance 9-star generals, they had a tough battle. Facing these bunch of crazy people who didn't care about their lives was a huge headache. They weren't even afraid of death, and their combat strength exploded. Even if they were ganged up on, they could still deal a heavy blow to the Alliance at the last moment. Zhu Shun's eyes were red. "Brothers, I will attack first. Listen to my commands and find a chance to kill a few more." "Old Zhu, what are you thinking of doing?" Zhang Sheng had a bad feeling. "Kiki." Zhu Shin laughed and struck toward the 9-star generals. "Stop talking nonsense and look at the chance. This is the only chance. My brilliant life is about to begin." At that moment, Zhu Shun's broken machete continued to give off a red mist. "Seal open. Hong Long." At that moment, a low voice spread out from the broken machete. A beast roar reverberated throughout the area. "Didn't all of you ask me how I walked the path of cultivation? Let me tell you now, it is because of a pig." Zhu Shin smiled. He looked at the machete that was about to break and recalled something. "Zhang Tianshan, I said that you were a coward in the past. I am sorry." Zhang Tianshan, who was laying out formations, looked into the distance and was stunned. At that moment, the pig's slaughtering knife instantly shattered, and a gigantic wild boar with needle-like hair and ferocious fangs appeared in the air with a terrifying aura. The wild boar looked at Zhu Shun, who was standing in front of it, and swallowed him whole. "Kong!" The wild boar roared, causing the space around to shake and shatter. Its red eyes gave off a ferocious intent. Suddenly, the wild boar stopped, and it felt like something was wrong. The red light in its eyes dissipated, and looking closely, Zhu Shun's face appeared in its eyes. 3 breaths. That is enough. The wild boar seemed like it was being controlled. Its hooves stepped in the air, and it charged towards the 9-star generals. Pung! Pung! There was a loud explosion. What kind of monster is that? The 9-star generals were shocked. Pucci. One of them didn't react, and his body was pierced by the wild boar's fangs. The fangs shot out spikes, and from the inside, the 9-star general was turned into a porcupine. One hit. He immediately found another 9-star general and charged over. That 9-star general was shocked and didn't think much. He slapped the wild boar's head, but he was sent flying. His body felt like it was about to explode, and he couldn't help but spit out fresh blood. Shortly after, the wild boar's front hooves landed and instantly trampled the 9-star general to death. It is too late. Zhu Shun, who was controlling the wild boar, was really unwilling. He controlled the power in the wild boar, and it started to go berserk. "Old Wu, I am counting on you." A terrifying aura exploded. There was a loud explosion. The wild boar self-destructed. Pung! A shockwave spread out and covered the nearby 9-star generals. The shocking power caused their blood to boil, and they couldn't help but spit out blood. Zhu Shun, Old Wu, and Zhang Sheng were really sad, but they definitely couldn't let Zhu Shun die for nothing. They disappeared from the spot and hollered as they pounced towards the 9-star generals. Die! Chapter 357. In the extreme distance. Nine Demon, let's go back. Go Z grabbed Nine Demon's head and shouted. Instantly, Nine Demon stopped. It lowered its head and placed Go Z on the ground. Go Z climbed up and raised his head. Bring me back. Nine Demons, 9 heads shook, and one of them pointed forwards. The meaning was obvious. I will send you here. You can walk the rest of the way, and I will go back myself. Nine Demon, bring me back. Go Z's eyes turned red. I know that it is dangerous, but young master needs my care. Without me by his side, he will be really lonely. Who? Hot air spurted out from Nine Demon's nostrils. He bared his teeth and raised his legs. He didn't dare to use strength and slowly pushed Go Z forwards. He was really afraid that he would step on Go Z to death. If he could speak, he would say, "Why would I bring you back? You are so weak that you are like the wild meat that I usually eat." He didn't bother about Go Z and turned around to leave. Nine Demon, who was like a small mountain, stepped down, and it was like an earthquake. He ran faster and faster. Nine Demon felt like the power in his body was about to explode. His body started to grow bigger. Shortly after, 2 meatballs rose up from his back. With a poochie, the meatballs exploded and a pair of wings appeared. When they spread out, each wing was hundreds of feet long. He waved his wings and caused a storm. Instantly, he turned into a streak of light and flew towards U City. Nine Demon, you bastard, I took care of you in the past. Go Z chased and scolded Nine Demon. But he was just a normal person, so how could he catch up? Zhu Shun. Lin Fan saw that Zhu Shun had died. That Zhu Shun who sold pork had actually died. Maybe to them, they had thought about this outcome when they went against the Alliance. Even if they died, they didn't regret it. War was just like that. No one could live forever. But what Lin Fan hated was that the war happened too quickly. It was so quick that no one was able to react. If it was slightly later, so many people definitely wouldn't have died. Experts below Dao Realm, be it U City or the Alliance, many died. Both sides had people who weren't afraid of death. It was just that the Alliance was slightly more afraid. The 9-star generals cherished their lives. They had salaries. Although there was the so-called glory of the Alliance, that was just to bluff the naive. Only the naive would say that everything was for the Alliance. It was glorious to die for the Alliance. Mother Fastress Kerr, this kid is too tough. I hate training my body. Mao Shintai was furious. He was at Dao Realm Stage 5, but he beat up a Dao Realm Stage 1 kid and actually didn't die. That was just so embarrassing. But there was no other way. The main reason was that Lin Fan's cultivation state was too low. However, there were too many internal and external cultivation techniques. Furthermore, they had all been raised to the return to true realm. Ordinary people would not be able to defeat them easily. Only Mao Shuntai, who was at Dao Realm Stage 5, was able to suppress Lin Fan. F***CK, it really hurts. Lin Fan consumed 50,000 rage points to raise the Blood Demon Reversal Technique to Dao Wheel, which was the highest realm. There were many wondrous uses, but he didn't dare to be too sure. Mao Shuntai, can you be faster? Zhu Daoshan hollered. The 4 of them ganged up on Lin Wani and weren't able to take him down. But Mao Shuntai, a Dao Realm Stage 5 expert, couldn't even take down a kid. Don't you feel ashamed? Or are you just a piece of trash? You have a high cultivation level, but no actual strength? Mao Shuntai was a little anxious. What did he mean by that? Why don't you try it yourselves? This kid had a problem, and it wasn't what they thought. Lin Fan looked at Mao Shuntai and then at his father. There was nothing, and the battle was really intense. But his father was really strong, and even if he fought 1 against 4, he was still able to do it. Suddenly, laughter spread out from the distance. There were 2 people standing in the air. Lin Fan thought that there were experts who came to help, but looking at the situation, it didn't seem like that. Their expressions didn't look like they were here to help, but more like they were here to watch. I haven't seen Lin Wani fight in a long time. As expected, he is really amazing. He is fighting 1 against 4 and is actually not at a disadvantage. I respect him. I really respect him. The person who spoke was Guasian Island Sect leader, Su Yuanming. But his face was a little blurry and it was tough to tell who he was. Lin Wani's battle stopped. Zhu Daoshan frowned and looked at the 2 of them in confusion. Su Yuanming, I remember your voice. If you're here to fight against the Alliance, then I welcome you. If not, then scram. Lin Wani said fiercely. Su Yuanming smiled. I didn't expect that I would be recognized. How helpless. Lin Wani continued to fight. White Lotus St. Purity Mountains Gyuan and I are just here to see you. Benefactor Su, how can you point me out? Gyuan shook his head. Master, don't be angry. I just spoke too much. Su Yuanming said. Naturally, they didn't come here to help, but to take a look at the U City situation. No matter what, Lin Wani's existence made many people respect him. His terrifying strength also terrified many people. They passed by here to see how amazing the battle between Lin Wani and the Alliance 9-star generals was. Lin Wani was furious. These bunch of trash. Zhu Daoshan said, do you see that? I really don't understand what you are protecting. Everything is just a joke to you. If they were willing to help you, then the Alliance would have nothing to do. But unfortunately, they are smarter than all of you and know what they want. As for you and these dead people, you will never know what you want. Zhu Daoshan said to the two of them, Sect Leader Su, Master Gu, persuade this old Master Lin. What is the point of fighting back? He's just asking to die. Murder and arson earn money. Repair bridges and roads without a corpse. You thought you were doing a good job, but in the end, no one even came to collect your corpse. If he didn't fight, Zhu Daoshan could consider it. Given the current situation, he was really tired from fighting. Although they had a chance to kill Lin Wani in the end, a few of them would die. The two 9-star generals beside Wu Zhiga were badly injured. If they continued to fight, the outcome would be tough to predict. Su Yuanming said, we can't persuade him. We're just passing by and won't interfere. Okay, continue to fight. We will leave first. Zhu Daoshan took in a deep breath. These top sects were really cunning, and it was impossible for them to help. They wanted the Alliance to kill Lin Wani. At the same time, they hoped that more people from the Alliance would die. Needless to say, they understood what he was thinking. Trash. Lin Fan looked at the two of them in rage. He would remember the names of these two sects in his heart. As long as he didn't die, one day he would wipe them out. At the same time, he felt bad for his father and the other experts. What was the point? But he knew. His father would definitely reply that if others didn't want to do it, then so be it. As long as he wanted to do it, then he would continue. In the distance, Su Yuanming and Gu Yuan talked to each other. Do you think Lin Wani will be killed? It is hard to say, but there is a high chance that he will. Half of U City's defense has been broken through, and too many people have died. They aren't a threat anymore. We just need to wait quietly. The battle at U City exploded once more. Zhang Sheng and Old Wu worked together to kill many 9-star generals. They didn't expect Zhu Shun to actually do that. Continue to kill. We can't let Zhu Shun die for nothing. The two of them looked at one another and smiled. At this moment, they had totally relaxed and didn't need to worry too much. Old Wu had been worried about young Master, but now he had thought it through. Young Master had grown up, and he stayed here to fight against the Alliance. He was mentally prepared. He didn't dare to say anything else, but he could ensure that he wouldn't die later than young Master. How long? Lin Fan's body flew backward and smashed into the city wall. Fresh blood spurted, and his injuries weren't light. Lin Fan was a little strong, and until now he hadn't gained any advantage. What a hateful fellow. Damn, he was gonna go all out. Bug transformation. Lin Fan gave off a special true essence that covered the area. He wanted to merge with all the bugs and turn them to the extreme. ZZ. A sound spread into his ears. The bugs that were covered by the bug controlling technique's special true essence started to change. Some grew wings, some turned golden, and some revealed sharp teeth. Lin Fan looked at Mao Shuntai in the distance. He saw the smile on his face. Was that a playful smile? How displeasing. I'm going to turn ugly once more. Lin Fan muttered. Very quickly, numerous bugs crawled on the ground and surged towards Lin Fan. How long? The ground shook. Lin Fan sensed a familiar aura. He turned his head and saw 9 demon. Why did it come back? Didn't he tell it to leave? He was such a happy person, but he had to face such an annoying situation. He felt really helpless. Nine Demon hollered. Instantly, its body turned into numerous pieces and attached to Lin Fan's body. Nine Demon emerged too, just as he had such a thought. Instantly, he felt like his mind was being attacked. I have never felt such a feeling before. Lin Fan's expression turned vicious. Instantly, he felt like he had reached the extreme. He hollered and a black pillar charged into the sky, covering his entire body. Mao Shintai was shocked. What was going on? Where did so many bugs come from? Moreover, these bugs even covered the other party. No. What was his relationship with Monster Emperor? Monster Emperor saved this kid last time, and now he used a similar move. Was it? He was a little confused and couldn't think of anything. Lin Wani paid attention to Lin Fan's situation. When he saw those violent scenes, his heart shook. Insect Valley's secret bug controlling technique. He had really cultivated it to the highest realm. Just at that moment, there was a loud explosion. Lin Fan, who was covered by the pillar, gave off a shocking aura. One could see that there was a monster within the pillar. Chapter 358. Lin Wani was really worried. Since Nine Demon came to U City, he had noticed it. He had seen the main body before, so naturally, he recognized Nine Demon right away. But Nine Demon was different from the main body and had probably mutated. This aura, it makes me feel really uneasy. Zhu Daoshan smiled and was really shocked, like he didn't expect the kid to have such a trump card. But the shock was just a facade. Lin Wani, to be honest, we're quite envious of you. Talent and bloodline inheritance, allowing the next generation to become even stronger. It's a pity that we're also very grateful that you're able to send a genius to us. A genius who hasn't grown up, yet is like a beautiful jade that hasn't been carved. We can destroy him however we want. Wu Zhige's killing intent boiled. This battle would definitely shock the world, and it would even be recorded in Alliance history. The four strongest 9-star generals of the Alliance would suppress the strongest native expert and open up a glorious era for the future. Just thinking about it made him really emotional. He remembered that when the Alliance first invaded Richland, there was a 9-star general who had many merits. Although he fell in the final battle, it was still recorded in history. When they were young and in school, it was recorded in the textbooks, which made people yearn for it very much. At that moment, Mao Shintai was the one who had the biggest shock. His gaze turned sharp. He was going to face the unknown, so it was useless for them to say anything else. Although Lin Wani was strong, that was just on the surface. How could he be like this? It was totally confusing. Suddenly, the black pillar of light dissipated. What replaced it was a golden light that covered the land. A terrifying shock wave spread out, causing the ground to crack. Some people around couldn't block the aura and were blown all over the place. It was a little terrifying. Mao Shintai's eyes opened wide like he had seen a ghost. He was filled with disbelief. What was that? At that moment, Lin Fan was already 10,000 feet tall. A pair of wings grew on his back, and his body gave off a golden glow. Instantly, with a gulp, a lump of flesh appeared on Lin Fan's back, and with a bang, it exploded. 9 hideous heads stretched out their long necks and extended out. 9 Demon and Lin Fan's merger totally suppressed the changes of the bugs. At the same time, he merged with different bugs, and Lin Fan took on all sorts of forms. Is this a monster? Mao Shintai muttered. He sensed an inhuman aura from Lin Fan's body, especially that golden light which made him feel annoyed. Lin Fan's eyes also turned into golden vertical slits. If 9 Demon could speak, it would say that Mao Shun was too weak. It wasn't that Mao Shun was too weak, but that Master was too weak and couldn't bear the power brought by the fusion. He couldn't even activate all of his power. TSK. So what if you're a monster? Although I don't know what you are, I can still crush you with my strength. Mao Shintai came back to his senses and smiled coldly. Lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. Rumble. Mao Shintai was naturally not weak at Dao Realm Stage 5. His body grew to a height of 10,000 zhang. Looking down from above, he said, Lad, I don't know how you did it, but you're still very weak. This is a fact that will never change. Roar. The 9 heads behind Lin Fan roared into the sky. Instantly, 9 different colored pillars of light shot out from the mouths of 9 demons' 9 heads, piercing through the clouds and causing the void to seem like it was about to collapse. Where are you attacking? I'm so big, can't you see? As expected, you are blind. Mao Shintai smiled, but at that moment his smile stopped. The space above his head opened up, and the dimension appeared. A pillar of light descended from above and smashed onto Mao Shintai's body. It was too quick, and one didn't have a chance to react at all. And Mao Shintai was shocked. The pillar of light came too suddenly, and he couldn't even stand straight. The power was like a waterfall that poured onto his body. Kacha! The ground cracked. What is this? Mao Shintai was filled with disbelief. His face was really vicious, and green veins appeared on his neck and face like they were about to explode. Damn, fellow, you want to rely on this to crush me? You're just dreaming. With a pung, Mao Shintai hollered. A heaven-piercing power charged forwards and clashed with the pillar of light. How long? The pillar of light was forced back. To Mao Shintai, his expression became more and more solemn. Lin Fan's change in strength was a little huge. He actually felt pressured, but that was impossible. Was he really at Dao Realm Stage 1? Even if he was overpowered, he shouldn't be able to fight someone at Stage 5 at Dao Realm Stage 1, right? Kacha! A crisp sound could be heard. Mao Shintai was stunned and looked over. He realized that Lin Fan's body was actually showing signs of breaking down. He was delighted like he had discovered a huge secret. So that's how it is. I was wondering how this kid could be so powerful. So it turns out that he's using some kind of secret technique. However, this secret technique has its drawbacks. It can't last for long. As long as I wait for a moment, it will self-destruct without me having to do anything. Mao Shintai laughed to himself. Since that was the case, then let's see how long you can last. Lin Fan stood on the spot. Behind him, 9 demons' 9 heads gave off a fierce look. But to 9 demon, Master was a little weak, and he didn't know how long he could last. Kacha! Just at that moment, cracks appeared on the ground beneath Lin Fan's feet. With a pung, Lin Fan disappeared from the spot. His speed was extremely fast, and the wings on his back seemed to be able to help him pass through dimensions. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Mao Shintai. He clenched his fingers into a fist and punched at Mao Shintai at an extremely quick speed. A little terrifying power. Mao Shintai was shocked, but he was still really calm and didn't panic at all. It was like he was passing through dimensions. He shifted his position and dodged at an unbelievable speed. How long? Lin Fan's fist missed, but the fist wind was too overbearing. It struck the space in the distance, causing it to crack. The ground was struck by an invisible force, and a deep hole was formed. One couldn't even see the end of it. So terrifying. Mao Shintai frowned. Lin Fan's strength exceeded his expectations. This wasn't something that a Dao Realm Stage 1 could have. Suddenly, just as Mao Shintai was shocked at this terrifying power, he sensed an even more terrifying power brewing. Lin Fan clasped his hands together and pushed forwards. A shocking aura exploded. Pung! Mao Shintai's astronomical phenomenon was struck. Light flowed around his body like water ripples. Kid, you before he finished. The 9 heads on Lin Fan's back spat out a multicolored light. Some corroded the space, some burned like the sun, and some were so cold that even the space around was frozen. This pung! Mao Shintai cried out. He wasn't able to react at all, and his giant body started to crack. With a loud explosion, he was pressed to the ground. Kacha! More and more cracks appeared on Lin Fan's body. He was like dry soil that was falling apart, piece by piece floating in the air. Damn! Mao Shintai didn't die, and his body was just injured. He was furious, and his eyes were spitting flames. Who knew that a Dao Realm Stage 5 expert would actually fall for this kid's tricks? When Mao Shintai saw that Lin Fan's body had shattered, he laughed out loud. He said that it didn't make sense. It was obvious that Lin Fan's strength had reached its maximum, and he was about to die. He didn't even need to personally attack, and Lin Fan had already killed himself. Not bad. I admit that you are amazing. You were able to injure me at Dao Realm Stage 1. That is something to be proud of. Mao Shintai smiled, right as he was about to tell Lin Wani that his son had turned into pieces. But he heard a weird sound. Kacha. It was really crisp. The stones that were giving off heat started to shake. With a pong, the stone shattered and an intense storm swept out. Mao Shintai took a close look, and his expression changed. How is that possible? It was obvious that he didn't believe what his eyes were seeing. That kid actually didn't die. When the kid became 10,000 feet tall, he was thinking about how the kid wasn't even at Dao Realm Stage 4. So how could he use astronomical phenomenon? However, the current situation left him somewhat dumbfounded. Lin Fan shrunk back to his original body and turned from gold to black. His black body looked like it was about to split open and a magma-like river flowed out. Nine Demons' existence was really special. Insect Valley's bug controlling technique was also really overpowered. When they were combined, the power they formed would be really terrifying. At the same time, the wings on his back were retracted and attached to his chest, forming something like armor. The 9 heads, arms, and legs merged, and their eyes were all closed. The moment Lin Fan lifted his foot, all of those eyes that were shut opened up as a ferocious aura swept out across the entire world. Pata! Mao Shintai took a step back, and his expression was a little unnatural. How did this happen? What was this fellow? 9 Demon, who had merged with Lin Fan, felt like this form was too much for Master. He knew that there were 3 forms. The first one was something that Master couldn't handle, and the second one wasn't something that Master could handle. Luckily, 9 Demon's own strength wasn't as strong as the mother's. If not, just the first form would have been enough to crush Lin Fan. But the second form was about to make Master collapse. The cracked skin and magma-like red liquid were signs of collapsing. Slowly, Lin Fan's body started to collapse like it was about to shatter in the blink of an eye. 9 Demon felt that something was different. Recover. He used the Blood Demon reversal technique. The body that was about to collapse actually recovered. Pung. The moment it recovered, Lin Fan disappeared from his spot. Instantly, Lin Fan disappeared from where he was. However, the moment he disappeared, that dull sound that was emitted from his body was still reverberating through the entire world. This kid, Mao Shintai, felt like things were bad. He was so strong, so he wouldn't die here, right? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.